compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement in the Cape May Star and Wave, on the Township website, and posted on the bulletin board of Township Hall.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence, and I would ask you to remember in particular Raymond Clark. Norris Clark, our Deputy Mayor's father, passed away on Thursday, and the service was this morning, so he will not be here. But on behalf of council and all of our residents, we offer our deepest condolences to Norris and his family. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad?
Here.
Councilmember Perry?
Here.
Councilmember Simonson?
Here.
And Mayor Beck.
Here. Before we begin the work session, those who are regular attendees here now know Jason. He comes for Autism Awareness Month each year, and he is a special, unique individual. We've basically watched him grow here. He's an 8th grader at Titleman, and along with his mom, Lisa, and his brother, Eric, and Erin, his sister, they're here today, and we are honored each year to have Jason come and talk to us just briefly about autism. And Jason, the floor is yours. So feel free to get up and say a few words to the people. I mean, he was an itty bit when he first started here. He was a tiny guy.
Yes, Mom. Hello, Mayor Beck, council members, and residents of Lower Township. It is great to see you. My name is Jason, and I'm now 14. Eric and I got to spend our birthday in Disney World. Our family, thanks to Sunshine Foundation and the Ocean City WWF, it was the best birthday ever. I'm in 8th grade at Richard Tubman Junior High School. Some days are difficult, but some great. I still have meltdowns sometimes, for maybe our schedule changed or things being difficult or certain things in my environment that are difficult for me to take. Like, I do not like to whistle of a tea kettle. It hurts my ears. But if my jam comes on the radio, I will blast and hurt everyone else's ears. I'm still struggling with ears, but if my OCD, and can be impulsive and unpredictable, and sometimes too, some things come very easy to me, and yet still struggle with daily life tasks and social appropriateness. In certain situations, I am working on it with Miss McGarry and my teachers at school. My mom, my therapist at home, so please be patient with me. I still love video games, and I am an awesome artist. I can even combine the two, draw and play out my video games through my art. I am very smart, all A and B's again, baby. Yeah, baby! Draw and play out my video. This year I attended my first junior high dance at Taiwan. It was awesome. I love to dance and tour up the floor, and Mr. Simonson even let me help him spin the tunes and made me confirmation St. John of God with my brother and Peter. Oh, and if you couldn't tell, did I mention I have autism? My mom asked me what my autism means to me. And my answer was caring and happiness. This is because that it was received and it makes me happy. I am here speaking not only for myself, but for Ben, who is 15, says, you can find a clue. Can you find a clue? Very interesting and insightful. And I like to ask you, can you, and Zach, who is 17, and due to the lack of services available for those with autism who are entertaining in adulthood, may likely faces additional obstacles and difficulties, a reality that I and many others are not far away from awareness, acceptance, or educational will help you better understand and assist us as we enter into our adulthood. In order to have opportunities to be better, productive parts of society, events like Bowling Bubbles, thanks Mr. Dietrich for organizing again this year. We even got all the students from Maud and Sammy in the human ribbon. Awesome. And Light Up the Blue, among others, won't cure autism, but help communities to come together to create awareness, acknowledge, and celebrate those who struggled every day. Also are together and also movie days that Al, Scene, and Frank's Theater Grand have joined with faces and provide families who would otherwise not be able to successfully attend a movie in a friendly place, New Jersey 1. In 45 people have autism. Some are similar to me, and some have more difficult time with some things. I just want to ask that, although you may not understand why those affected behave in certain ways, please try to display kindness and compassion and understanding as best as you can. You see, although we are different in some ways, we are the same in many other ways. We have feelings and wants and likes just like you. It may take us a little longer and we may learn differently, but with your help, the possibilities are endless. Please just try to respect each other and embrace the differences, whenever it be of an opinion, appearance, learning ability, wants, or likes. Just because we may lack in some areas, we have much to contribute in many other. Our autism may make us different, but nevertheless, if society would try to practice compassion, kindness, compassion, and understanding, then we are moving in the right direction. I'd like to leave you with a lyrics from the song of a very talented and kind musician that not explain the importance of autism awareness and understanding more clearly the missing piece is you and me, and truly is. Thank you very much, Mayor Beck, council members, and residents of Lower Township for your time to continue supporting of autism awareness. Will you please stand up for the national anthem?
It's okay.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn to lead light for the valleys we will, for the twilight flash me, and the stripes and bright stars from the mountains and Here's to the oh, say let's my star-spangled banner it is from the land of the free and the home of the brave. Good night.
You know, Jason, you've grown to be an accomplished young person, but this is due in no small part to Mom. Lisa has been a very patient and a fantastic individual and caregiver and mom, and you deserve a lot of this credit. And I have a proclamation for Autism Awareness Month. Whereas autism is a developmental brain disorder which causes impairments in a person's ability to communicate, socially interact, and results in repetitive and unusual behaviors. Whereas more and more health professionals become proficient in diagnosing autism, more children are being diagnosed on the autistic spectrum, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 91 children. Whereas while there is no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive treatment early in their lives, it is often possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas Autism New Jersey and FACE's Autism Support Network of New Jersey are spearheading awareness efforts in order to educate parents, professionals, and the general public about autism and its effect. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Michael E. Beck, and the Lower Township Council do hereby proclaim April as Autism Awareness Month. Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Jason.
Can I get a picture?
Sure you can. Come on, guys, you want to
Yep.
sit down? We're always good for a picture. Smile it up, Hal. Give it a smile. Yeah, after.
Hide behind that for this stage.
Okay, before we begin the work session, I just want to take a moment to read a letter that we received, and it's one of the, it's a kind that we appreciate, but we don't get often enough, and it's addressed Dear Mayor and Mr. Ridgway. On Wednesday, March 25th, 2015, I experienced a very serious medical issue that required my calling 911. It was later confirmed that I had suffered a heart attack. In response to this emergency, several members of the Lower Township Police Department arrived within a very few short moments to my home. To their credit, they took immediate steps to provide medical aid to me. It is my view that their presence and assistance helped save my life. I wish to personally commend and thank the following officers: Officer Sean Lafferty, Officer C.J. Ryan, Officer Stephen Flitcroft, and the rescue squad members Emily DePietro and Linda Brannon. In these trying times, when there is seemingly media saturation of negativity towards the honorable profession of those who protect and serve, these officers and their partners need to be appreciated and commended for manning the thin blue line of duty, honor, integrity, and service to the community and country. To them and their dedication, I salute you always and forever. And it's signed by one of our residents. I'm not sure that we can read his name out. I don't think there's a problem with that. It's Mr. McLaughlin is his name. But I think we all share in saying thank you to the officers and the rescue squad people that are involved, but it was such a nice one, we just thought we would read it out. We'll move on now to the work session. We have from the county, we have Anne Marie McMahon, and we have Marty Palugi, a good friend and mayor of Avalon, who doubles up as the emergency management coordinator. So the floor is yours. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to just, first of all, say thank you for the mayor and the council for allowing us to give this presentation tonight. It's basically a discussion that we would like to open up on a conceptual plan that we feel will be both beneficial to Cape May County and to also Lower Township. And I hope I hit this right. I know the screen is in an awkward place, and I believe we gave out copies of the PowerPoint, but I think it'd be better if you came down and took a look at it. And I'm not going to put my back to the public. I'd like to stand around to the front. It's basically to talk about emergency management with Cape May County and with Lower Township, and also to open up a discussion on some joint dispatch work that we've done for the last 2 years. Cape May County Emergency Management is in the basement of the library on Mechanic Street in Cape May Courthouse. We're also a joint dispatch area. We dispatch for the Cape May County Sheriff's Department, the Cape May County Prosecutor's Office, and we started a pilot program about 1.5 years ago with Cape May County is dispatching for fire and EMS for Avalon and Stone Harbor. The Avalon Police Dispatch has taken over Stone Harbor Dispatch, and it's worked out extremely well in the last 1.5 years. But we'd like to open up a discussion of the possibility of partnering with Lower Township in the existing courthouse police building at the airport. Our dispatch area and our OEM operating center is below grade. And I think I was there for about 1.5 months, and I realized there's 2 pump stations with sub pumps that are running 24 hours a day. It's not the most ideal place to have an emergency operating center. We're definitely going to move out of that facility. And we saw a possible cost benefit, extremely good cost benefit, that if we were to do a partnership with Lower Township, it would be equally beneficial to both parties. We would be talking with a shared service agreement on that building at the airport, and it would house both your police department to a state-of-the-art police facility, plus your OEM, and there would be room in there that would stay where the fire and EMS are all part of that building. It would include the rehabilitation of the building with a long-term lease with Lower Township, and it would reduce substantially the amount of money that it would be into a new facility. We've seen a lot of other benefits that would possibly be realized, that Lower Township would obtain a new facility, state-of-the-art, along with their OEM would be in the same building as Cape May County OEM. There's a lot of advantages to that with the state. We've seen the concept that a lot of the alternate EOCs in the state, we've also been given, we also right now are the alternate EOC for the state police. There's one facility in North Jersey, there's what they call the Regional Operations Center in West Trenton. We would be the Southern Operations Center for the state of New Jersey in the event that they had to vacate one of those facilities during a major storm like Sandy. There's advantages for being at the airport. Number one, it's one of the highest locations in the county. Number two, logistically, it would make a lot of sense for supplies to be brought in if we had a major disaster like Sandy. They put me in a helicopter the Thursday after the hurricane, and we flew the entire state of New Jersey. And from Brigantine north, the devastation was unbelievable. You had to see it to believe it. There were major problems for 3, 4, 5 months in Ocean County and Monmouth County as far as distribution of supplies and trying to get people back into their facilities. One of the other benefits would be if we got into the discussion with joint dispatch. The pilot program that we're doing with Avalon and Stone Harbor by dispatching their fire and EMS is saving Stone Harbor $187,000 a year, and it's saving Avalon $184,000 a year. And that's just a little pilot program. the larger municipalities in the township would extremely benefit from a cost savings that could go up into the $300,000-$400,000 range by just doing that dispatch. One of the other advantages that we found is regionalization of applying for grants. Department of Homeland Security, New Jersey OEM, the federal Homeland Security grants are starting to dry up, and they're looking at partnerships when you apply, not necessarily one municipality or one county. If you get into a partnership with multiple jurisdictions, you're a lot better off applying for the grants and being able to receive those grants. One in particular that we've talked to within the last year is a port security grant. And we would look at a possibility of a partnership with County OEM, Lower Township OEM, and the DRBA to apply for a port security grant. Right now, they would not even consider Cape May County on its own. But there's a lot of advantages down the road in applying for grants. And like I said, with the joint dispatch program, there's huge cost savings for the municipalities. And not only with safety, not only with a huge cost savings, there's a big increase in public safety when you have multiple dispatchers involved. We probably made 6 or 7 trips to Camden County in reviewing, and they've been helping us put together the overall plan for countywide dispatch. They've got 48 dispatchers on duty at any one time, and they're split into different zones. They've got fire dispatch, EMS dispatch, and police dispatch. A multiple incident comes in, they've got multiple dispatchers handling the different disciplines. We've been putting together some success stories, and we've been putting together some disasters. One of the disasters, for example, is a cell phone 911 call, which, depending on where you are in the county, it may not go to the jurisdiction where you're trying to get help. We saw that about 5 years ago with a capsized boat in Delaware Bay, where a cell phone call for emergency ended up going to a cell tower in Delaware. By the time it got transferred to the State Police Barracks in Hamilton, back down to the Coast Guard, it was almost a half an hour. We had an emergency 911 cell phone call for medical services last summer. It went to the wrong jurisdiction. That call got transferred 5 times before an ambulance was dispatched. Then we've got the success stories. We had an unfortunate incident in Avalon last July where we had a fire call at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on 28th Street. 3 minutes later, we got a 911 call that an 18-month-old fell out a second-story window on his head and he was unconscious. That triggered a second fire call to set up a landing zone. That triggered police, that triggered EMS. We had 3 dispatchers operating that incident. The Avalon Police handled the police jurisdiction, a county dispatcher handled fire, and a second county dispatcher handled EMS. They had the child in the helicopter in less than 9 minutes on the way to Cooper Hospital. 6 months later, I got a letter from the grandfather, and he said to me, Mayor, he said, in my 42 years in public safety, I've never seen a response so coordinated as that. You were responsible for saving my grandson from permanent brain damage because of the speed of that response. The point is, multiple dispatchers handling multiple jurisdictions, multiple events, and multiple disciplines, and the grandfather attached a check for $1,000 to the Avalon Fire and EMS squads. I mean, to me, that was a pretty good success story, and it points out the better public safety dispatcher response that you get with multiple dispatchers. The other thing is, like I said before, we're pursuing a lot of grant money, and it's going to be a partnership. We're looking at a partnership with Lower Township as part of applying for these grants. One of the big issues that's going to come up within the next 3 to 5 years is the next generation 911. That's going to be all cell phone, text messages, video, and being able to zero in onto the appropriate cell tower based on a GPS application that Verizon and Comcast are working on right now. The problem is everyone gets a phone bill, whether a landline or a cell phone bill. And if you look on that bill, there's a 911 surcharge. In 2013, the state of New Jersey took in $128 million in 911 surcharge. But as of 2009, the state of New Jersey is directing all of that money into the general fund. There's nothing coming back to advanced technology, advanced training, advanced new 911 systems. And as they're becoming obsolete, it's a big tax burden on the municipalities to be able to put in a whole new 911 system or upgrade their equipment. There's just a lot of other advantages to open up this discussion with Lower Township as far as this partnership goes with this building. And I'm going to go into the next part of this is actually the building itself. Anne Marie McMahon is the Director of Facilities and Services. She's done quite a bit of research in the last 6 months pertaining to that building, and I'm going to turn it over to Anne Marie.
Good evening. Again, my name is Anne Marie McMahon. I oversee all of the county projects. So basically, I was asked to analyze the existing public safety building for the possibility of central dispatch and consolidation of services for the police department and the county. This is the existing space allocation for the building. It's basically a 48,000 square foot space, which is much more than what the police department needs or what emergency management needs. So we started the discussions with the potential to combine our services. What I did, I didn't want to waste what the architect proposed for the new facility on this location. So I compared his drawings, square footages for his space, and as you can see on the left-hand column, those were the proposed square footages for the proposed new building and my square footages for my renovated building on the right side. The green shows where I was actually able to give them more space per room in my renovation. In my analysis, I basically analyzed the adjacencies, square footage, any special requests that the police department had. I met with the chief on many occasions to, review the drawings and see how we can make the existing building work. It's kind of hard to see in this plan, but obviously I left room labels out for security purposes. This plan, if you get up close, I'm sorry, it's not too clear on there. There are blue lines, which would be walls to be demolished, and there are yellow lines, which are new walls. So as you can see, there aren't many changes that needed to be made to the building to make this building work for the police department. Basically, the site plan is the existing site plan on the left-hand side. On the right side, I was able to give 146 parking spaces just by slight modification of the existing site. There are additional 20 parking spaces along Forestal Road, which is along the runway portion of the site that I did not account for. So this is my proposed space allocation. So in this space, the police department, courtroom, and vehicle storage area would consume 21,734 square feet of the building. The fire and EMS, what my proposed idea was to, I believe there are 3 employees of the Fire Bureau, move them into the EMS portion of the building, consolidate their space, which is 6,700 square feet. So combined, it's about 28,400 square feet of the 48,000 square foot building that the police, fire, EMS, and courtroom would take. The county emergency management is 10,107 square feet, and the record storage for county records, which I know every municipality and county is hurting for file storage space, so we thought this would be an opportunity to move county records to that location. I know the airport isn't the nicest place to visit. It's pretty unsightly. Some buildings need to be demolished. There are some, basically lack of interest in that location. But I just wanted to let you know that the county has many meetings with DRBA. This is the plan for the future development that will be occurring in the airport. The plan is to consolidate business uses or municipality uses. So as you can see, there's the historic and museum district, municipal district. There's a reserved green space, commercial district. We hope to bring in some different businesses and restaurants and things like that to the airport. More storage facilities, walking paths, things like that to the space. Currently, the county has a project on Hornet Road, which is right where the commercial district, which goes up to that cul-de-sac area. That is underway currently. We are addressing all of those issues, with better site lighting, signage, things like that to make that a central access within the airport complex. But it will be a nicer place. It just, as with anything with township or county, it does take time to get these projects done. So how much is this going to cost? Well, I did not think it would be fair to throw a general square foot number on a 48,000 square foot building that has multiple uses inside of it. The storage area, the vehicle storage area, and the county record storage future use consumes about 14,000 square feet. Obviously, the needs for that space are much different than to outfit a courtroom or an office. So I didn't think to throw a general square foot number across the whole building would be fair. I'm currently the project manager for the new correctional facility. So I basically took unit prices from the cost estimate for that project and plugged them into the needs for this building. So everything that I proposed is institutional grade equipment. So it's basically meant to be a police department or a jail, basically institutional grade. So the existing building, what I found out, there is a fire suppression system in the 14,000 square foot storage space. That fire suppression system is a wet pipe system. The heat that you have to provide for that space, it just wastes utilities trying to heat that space just so the pipes don't freeze. So I had a cost estimate of $75,000 to replace that system with a dry pipe system. Something as simple as that could save hundreds of thousands of dollars in utility costs over the years. A new generator, I got a price for that, $187,000 for a new generator. So, I do have a breakdown of all of these, but I just wanted to touch on some of the more important aspects of what we would be upgrading. We would be upgrading HVAC system, electrical, plumbing. There are many areas in the building that have paneling on the walls. We would be ripping that out, having sheetrock, putting interior glass windows on offices, things like that, because there are minimal exterior windows in this building because it's such a large building. So you really can't get the depth of the daylight into the space. So we'll do whatever we can to, make it a better aesthetically pleasing building. Security equipment, I'm also the project manager on the county's countywide security project. That's a $1.3 million project that we're working on for security cameras, door access, things like that. So I have a budget number of $175,000 in for security equipment. Basically, it'll be card readers and cameras throughout the entire building. Signage, we'll improve signage. We won't touch on the signage throughout the entire airport complex because that's a county project and a DRBA, but we'll definitely improve the signage on the building and in the building. I'm proposing new holding cells, but it may not be required. We're actually waiting for a response back from DOC to let us know that. Shelving, we'll have evidence storage. In my plan, I wasn't moving the township storage that's currently in the building or the police department storage so that we didn't have to waste the high-density shelving that they've already spent the money. So I was able to keep them in their current location within the building. Guess we can go on to the next one. So I basically analyzed the overall square footage of the building. I analyzed the numbers that I came up with. It comes out to $6.2 million total, but included in that figure is $2 million just for the dispatch upgrades. That's not your responsibility. So I'm only including $4.2 million as the overall number to be analyzed for your portion of the building. So for the 28,000 square feet that you would be occupying in that building, it would be $2.6 million that it would cost you to stay in the building, let the county renovate it, and make a nice building for you. You may be asking, why would I spend $2.6 million on a renovation if I can get a brand new building for $4 million? I did see some presentations from OSK, the architect, and my only concern with that would be the cost figures that the county has been getting for projects are in the $300 to $325 per square foot range. So my only concern would be the accuracy of that number that was presented compared to the actual costs on municipal and county projects. Again, so, you know, the estimate of $4 million, my concern in my analysis, and again, I'm not here to sway anyone either way, but my analysis, it would be closer to $6 million for your new building. So again, you know, the county, you know, is just looking at this building as an option for us to either come in. We do have other options. We're looking at Upper, Dennis, and what was the other location? Actually, Courthouse for other locations. So, you know, if you choose to move forward with this, you know, we'd be happy to partner with you. These are the most accurate numbers that, you know, I've spent a lot of time putting these numbers together, getting actual unit costs, hiring contractors, and giving me numbers. So I just wanted to let you know the potential for that building.
Yes, sir.
Would you discuss the utility savings, which appear to be over $100,000 annually,
There,
which would be split? And would you,
because right now, if I'm not mistaken, there are 17 HVAC systems on that roof. This would be consolidated into a dual system, and the cost would be split between the county and the township with the two systems. Basically, it would be, there's a lot of, we're not into the contractual agreements or how it would be set up, but it would basically be whatever square footage is used by Lower Township, that would be their portion of what they would pay, whether it be utilities. You'd be splitting insurance. Instead of one standalone building, you'd be splitting the insurance costs. There's a lot of soft costs that would be savings to Lower Township that aren't, you know, right, that we would put into writing like now. Like I said, there's a couple of different ways contractually how it can be done. You can sell the building back to the county for $1. I'd ask $1.50. I don't know if get a little more for it, but I mean, there's even been talk around with some of the attorneys the possibility of a condominium type of an arrangement where Lower Township would own theirs as condoed out. Under state laws in New Jersey, you can condo anything. You can condo the back seat of a car. But the other way it could be with a long-term lease. It could be a 20, 25-year lease where costs to renovate, costs for engineering, costs for upgrades and stuff would be split based on a square foot value that Lower Township would use.
and this encompasses also the new rescue squad building.
That's correct. That's correct. Rescue would be included. The fire subcode people would be included. There's actually more square footage allocated to the police department that would have been in building a new standalone building. Some of the other things, radio communications. We're assembled a communication committee countywide. We're working with, we worked with the fire service first because we did the pilot program in Avalon Stone Harbor to dispatch fire and EMS. That was the first part that we've gotten into. We're putting together a countywide communications committee because I don't know if people are aware, we've switched the county prosecutor and the sheriff's department over to what they call 700 megahertz. That eventually is going to be a nationwide network for interoperability. They're gradually getting rid of the UHF and VHF radio systems. The only problem right now, 700 megahertz is very expensive. As the price starts to come down and there's more competition on the equipment, it's going to make it worthwhile for the local fire companies, EMS, municipalities to go 700 megahertz. We're designing a 700 megahertz system throughout the county. First would be utilizing the county microwave system as the infrastructure. The county got a grant about 9 years ago or so, to do a records keeping system within the county. Every municipality has a microwave antenna somewhere. I believe Lower Township's on the water tank at the airport. But that microwave can be used to transmit any type of medium back to a central dispatch. If a fire company or a police department they're going to stay on VHF, they can transmit VHF. If they want to switch over to 700 megahertz, they can switch over through the microwave system. The other part of it is we're working, the county's negotiating right now, and they've got a semi-complete plan with Comcast to complete the fiber optic network to the southern part of the county. And the one big hub would be at the airport, because we brought this potential partnership with the Lower Township that would bring the actual fiber optic down here, which is the most reliable way to transmit. But like I said, there's going to be a lot of upgrades that are going to have to be done in the last 5 or 6 years that, it's going to be very expensive for the municipalities. And the more there's not one silver bullet that you can use to help cut property taxes. I know Mr. Christie puts his faith on this 2% cap on budgets, but there just happens to be about 100 loopholes that you can get away with. I haven't seen my taxes go down with the 2% cap. But things like this, central dispatch, different types of options that municipalities can participate in, they'll add up eventually. You can't do business like we did business for the last 40 years. Simple as that. Can I take questions from the public?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
They said you have 2 other locations you're under consideration, Dennis Township and Courthouse?
Upper Township and Dennis Township, and then we have another possibility in Cape May Courthouse.
So how will you determine which location you want to use?
If this,
Up to lower 10, is this a preference?
this is the preference. This is the preference. If this doesn't work, we go to another Plan B. Simple. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Why do you do it when it's expensive?
To give you an example, there's a lot of dead spots in the county with VHF. You can ask your police department. They have problems in certain areas of the county. We've had times where sheriff deputies were serving a warrant somewhere and they had to communicate on their cell phone. 700 megahertz is statewide. We did a test with it. We put 2 sheriff deputies taking a prisoner to, I think it was Warren County. They gave us a radio test every 15 minutes going up the parkway on a handheld radio, and we never lost contact. It's an interoperability that's eventually going to be nationwide. The sheriff's department was in dire need of it right now. Actually, we got a grant from Homeland Security to pay for it. As the prices start to come down, Motorola was the only 700 megahertz portable, mobile and portable radio manufacturer. Harris just came out with the whole series of 700 megahertz. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is eventually going to have the entire nation on this because it's interoperable. They're dual band radios, 800, 700 megahertz. You can get them with 700 megahertz and VHF. It's just the wave of the future, and we're going to have to switch over 3 to 5 years from now.
One more thing, when there's an evacuation, you got anywhere for the animals where you are now?
Yes, I've got a pet trailer shelter that we built in the Bear of Avalon that we can get 120 animals. It's got heat, air conditioning. That was all over the newspaper 5 years ago. We've got 2 more that we bought with the county, and we're getting ready to build a 4th one. We can probably shelter 400 animals.
Person stay there with them?
Yes, there's a CART team. We formed the Cape May County CART team. We've got 32 volunteers. We've got 4 veterinarians that are going to make the rounds. We have a whole CART program laid out for the animals. I mean, people think, well, the only reason you did it is because you like animals. Well, my wife has cats. I like dogs, okay? But the fact is, I was in New Orleans 6 months after Katrina, and we read the after-action report. There were 64 confirmed deaths because people would not leave their house because they couldn't take their animal. I wouldn't leave without the animal. So it's an integral part of the sheltering plan. Right now, we've designed it and we organized it for domestic animals to help people come to shelters. What we're going to do the next time is the large animal shelter, the 120 animal one, will probably go to the Woodbine Developmental Center. That's our largest shelter. The other 2 county trailers, as a matter of fact, during Sandy, we had one down here in Lower Township, and we're going to put another one up in Upper Township.
And the trailer would hold up during hurricane?
Yes. Yep. It's got generator, heat, hot water. They park it, anchor it down. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. You're gonna hear a lot of people saying, well, there's mold in that building, there's this, there's that. I'm assuming you figured out ways to get rid of it.
Well, I would assume that the township, being that they were notified of that in the past, has remediated that. I know they conducted, I guess,
The preliminary work that we're putting out an RFP will be to completely gut the building. All new ductwork, all new paneling, anything that can harbor mold. I don't want to go in there if there's mold in there. That my office will be in there, and I can assure you that it's going to get a complete environmental bill of health before we even start to put anything back on the walls. Yes, sir.
I spent an entire career in law enforcement in these securities in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Nowadays, this is an important matter for all of us, all over this great state. I wouldn't mind supporting tax increase at all.
But I think it can be done without a tax increase. That's, yep, yep. Yep. I mean, it has to be, like I said, it can't be, there's not one silver bullet that's going to help reduce property taxes. It's got to be a series of things, and you can't do business like you did business in the last 40 years. It's going to take some leadership. It's going to take some people to try something different, because that's the only way it's going to be. And I agree with you. Public safety. The thing is, most people nobody really paid attention to that 911 surcharge. We're going to start a major stink over that now. We have a consultant that's getting ready to put together a package to go to Trenton, and we're going to let it be known all over the state. People think of 911, they think of it like they think of the MUA. You flush the toilet, it goes away, everybody's happy. Okay, they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. You dial 911, as long as somebody answers the phone, I'm happy. But you don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and there are some real situations that have happened in this county that the people don't realize. You don't fool with public safety. That's my opinion.
Also, during emergencies, cell phones go down a lot of times because everyone's.
Correct. Cell phones go down, but your text messages don't. That's a whole different system. Right. We've given a lot of classes with senior citizens now. We're trying to get our county library to talk with the seniors to teach them how to text, if they have a cell phone and stuff. Yes, sir.
Now, that 2.6 million is based on a renovation price of $300 a square foot?
No. Yes, it is. Yes.
That might be, that could be.
Yes. It depends once they start tearing the building apart. Right.
Great architects at 100.
Well, I mean, there's standards. You can look up, you can go online, you can go to the AIA standards, and for any type of hardened construction, like jail construction, heavy commercial, it's 325 a square foot. Right. Yes, ma'am. One second.
I'm interested in the lease. I didn't understand, or I don't understand, who owns it, and then
That still has to be worked out. There's several different options the way it can be done, and it's basically going to be up to the governing body what they would decide. It could be a long-term lease. In other words, Lower Township would pay it off as if they floated a bond anticipation note or a bond for 20 years. If they were going to build a new building, it would be bonded. You'd make monthly or quarterly or yearly payments on the bond. This would be a payment to the county, semi-annual, once a year, whatever it is, based on the square footage. If it costs $2.6 million, my idea would have the county fund it, would have the county build it, and then Lower Township would just get a bill once a year for 20 years. It would be spread out just like a bond issue. The only difference there is it would not affect Lower Township's debt service. You would not have to put more on your debt service. It wouldn't affect your bond ratings by doing it that way. That's just one way to do it. Like I said, it could be condoed. There's 3 or 4 different options, but that's going to be up to the governing body. Yes, sir.
How do you plan to renovate the roof?
That's not let me check with Anne Marie over here.
We did get a cost estimate from a roofing manufacturer that we deal with at the county on pretty much all of our projects. The price was $608,500.
How is it going to be?
It'd be a 20-year warranty.
Is it going to remain a flat roof? Or is it
Yes, it would remain a flat roof. Because of the HVAC units on the roof, it's very difficult to put a pitched roof over units that need ventilation. So it would be very difficult to remove all of those units, put them on the ground.
But a new flat roof doesn't last that long.
We have a 20-year warranty that we would be getting on that roof.
So 20 years down the road, you're going to have to replace the roof.
Maybe. I mean, that's any building.
Just like any other flat roof. Would an A-frame be better even if you have to move the HVAC stuff?
A-frames are better for shedding water and snow and things like that. The problem with most flat roofs are obviously, drainage and, getting the water to the scuppers and things like that. But when it's done correctly and pitched properly to those drains, right now the roof that's on that building wasn't properly maintained. There are scuppers that are filled, that are clogged, so all of that water has nowhere to go, so it backs up back through the flashing and back through the roof. So a lot of your environmental concerns are from that roof. So we would start by fixing the roof first before we do anything inside.
How about a slight A-frame, very low, just enough
They
to push the water to the outside?
They pitch that, and they call them cant strips, that actually pitch the water away from the edge of the roofs to those scuppers. So they're not going to warranty a roof if it isn't going to shed water, because I'll just call them every week. So basically, it's common practice. $608,500. The council has questions.
Yes, sir.
There's another gentleman in the back.
This here is to represent the Cape Chiefs Association, which represents Bill's Fire Department, Turner Fire Department, Calmaine Fire Department, Cape May City Fire Department, West Cape May, Cape May Point, Coast Guard is also involved with that, but they're not here speaking on their behalf. But we have representation from both police departments, Cape May City and Lower Township. And we thought it was important that the public know that all the entities locally in Lower Township and the Southern and Cape May, we all support the idea of shared services and the central dispatch being brought to Lower Township for many reasons. Not only the being able to have access to the dispatch locally for updated training and response times and response procedures, but also the dispatch notification and response with radio communication. Just to touch on it, and I'm sure the police department can speak for Lower Township, but in the fire service itself in Lower Township, as a best chief here in the Villas, I know the north end of the Villas here, communication from BHF radios is almost none. I mean, we constantly ask from dispatchers, we're constantly asking us to repeat. I know that they have the same issue down in Cape May City, also out in Diamond Beach. So I'm here with permission of all those representatives, basically saying we support the idea of the central dispatch and the location in the Rocky Lower Township.
Thank you. But I think you're absolutely right. I'm going to be honest with you. When I got this job 3 years ago, the only thing I knew about a radio was when I jumped in my fire truck and I signed on. If nobody answered, it's broken. I got a real education in 3 years. And I mean, being in one particular town like Avalon that's only 5 miles long, it wasn't a problem. But when we get into the townships now, we're so spread out the rest of the county. There's a lot of life and death situations that have been, we've had copies of tapes on 911 tapes and also radio communication, both fire and police and sheriff's department, that were a little touchy. So I think it's about time that, number one, we update that communication system countywide and try to make it more uniform. I know what we did with the fire service, we allowed the first fire companies that came in actually sat down and wrote the procedural radio manual. We want to do that now with the police department, and we're looking at partnering with Lower Township to actually start that they will customize that. Communication, as far as radio equipment, that's still going to be left up to the municipalities. If they want to stay with their VHF, they can't afford to go 700 megahertz yet. And we're also, like I said, looking to partner with Lower to apply for grants for communication equipment. There's still some money out there, but it's hard for one municipality to apply. They're looking at, like a partnership type with multiple jurisdictions involved.
I can tell you just from the fire side of things, we've already recognized that the 700 megahertz has taken over up north. It's something, we might have some question between individual departments whether they think one's better than the next. The reality is, radios are a better product with the capability of long distance communication. But also, the fire departments have already began to prepare the budget. So people have an idea, a basic portable radio that each firefighter is supposed to have on them, which is assigned to every seat, is about $6,000 a radio
For the 700.
for the 700 megahertz. But again, that's something that each fire department has already recognized. As far as I'm aware, we meet every other month for the last 6 years. We've already started to plan and budget for that sort of upgrade anyway. So
Yeah,
I don't
right.
think that's any
Right. I mean, the dispatch center will be designed to handle VHF, UHF, and 700, 800 megahertz, whatever would be able to communicate. We can do patches. Like I said, in a multiple alarm situation, for example, we'll operate on 2 separate frequencies. You know, there'll be the operational frequency, fire trucks and firemen are talking to one another. Then there's, for example, the tanker task force. They're going to be working on another frequency. EMS task force. All the 700 is going to be able to be interoperable to all the different disciplines. So down the road, that's the way to go. And if we start the plan for it now, through central dispatch, one at a time, I think it's going to make a big difference 3, 4, 5 years from now. Let me tell you, every single drill, exercise that I've been involved in the last 3 years, the after-action report, biggest problem, communications. Yes, sir.
The GIS department for the county has literally mapped every dock in Lower Township. We've read total, so that if somebody from the cell phone calls on the system, okay, they can find that dot on the map in dispatch, and it'll tell you what dock it is and what slip it is.
And campgrounds.
Campgrounds as well.
But like the biggest thing, the misconception is, for example, central dispatch, you know, so you'll hear arguments, well, your dispatcher doesn't know what street is, how that street is. Well, with today's technology, you can be in Kansas City and dispatch to Pennsylvania Avenue up the street. I mean, there's going to be multiple displays, multiple screens with the new dispatch center. The new 700 megahertz radios have the option with GPS. We'll plot, and they'll actually see where the responding units are, where the EMS is. They've got 2 screens. They've got a mapping screen that shows the unit. They've got a satellite view of zoom in on the property. For example, in Dennis Township, there's quite a few properties. The house sits a quarter mile back off the road. The EMS is going to go right by that driveway at 2 o'clock in the morning. Dispatcher is going to call him right in. He's going to tell him exactly. There's a lot of advantages that the towns don't have right now, and it's very expensive to put it in. Yes, sir.
I take it from the conversation in your presentation that there's a couple of things that you suggested, and it's all up to the council to get involved with this if they want to move forward. And the one thing you brought out would be either give it back to the county for $1 or $1.50, whatever. Whatever.
75 cents will give you a discount.
Load us that way.
Yeah.
And then pay for actually the usage of their area. Well, I kind of think that's a good way to go. Hope the council will take maybe a look at that.
Yeah.
And then the other end of it with that, eventually, you'll have other municipalities moving in to make it dispatch safe for maybe Cape May County.
Yep.
So that will bring the cost down as you
More.
go along.
The initial, the other part of it is the funding mechanism, okay? I gave a couple of options to the freeholders. It's going to be up to them to select a different funding mechanism to pay for this. One of the examples, and this is the extreme, would be a tax countywide. 2/10 of a penny would pay to build it, and everyone would be able to come into it. One of the other options, that's what every other county did. Now, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're the last county that does not have central dispatch. Camden County, it took them 20 years to get all the towns to come in, but right now, Burlington, Gloucester, all the way up into North Jersey. We visited about 5. We're working with Camden the closest because they've been there the longest, and they just updated they just did a $42 million expansion on their central dispatch.
Not to interrupt you, but this has been going for many years.
Correct. Well,
Nobody got off their...
you're right. Cape May County is always 20 years behind the rest of the state. I mean, come on, I have to say it, but...
If it's coming to that, but it'll be still a long-term program. It's not
Yep.
going to happen next year.
Nope. I have handshake commitments from 3 municipalities, from the mayors, that we're interested. We are very interested. We'll come in if you build it. The 2 big ones, the other option I gave the freeholders was, which we're going to talk to the governing body, was that if Lower Township and Middle Township came in first, each one paid $500,000 to the county a year, we could build it and operate it, and they'd be the first ones to come in. Lower Township would save $180,000, Middle Township would save $160,000. Every other town that joined in, their savings would go down, or go up.
The other part of it is what you just stated before, as far as budget, stuff like that, it's not gonna affect anything right now.
Nope, nope,
It'll be still a long time before it happens. So
right.
It's not a tax saving at this time. It's a safety thing that you had mentioned before. It's also, if there's a disaster down here, what provisions would you have over there, at the airport, in the county, say for people to have to stay there, or anything? Would there be anything involved over there, or would you have?
As far as the shelter goes, we're working with, right now, the designated shelters is the Middle Township School, 2 Upper Township schools, and the Woodbine Developmental Center. They're the highest points. Anything else that's close to a floodplain, we wouldn't take a chance. We've identified the Dennis Township Elementary School and the Woodbine Elementary School, but they don't have generators.
Or on your system, that would be all
That, correct,
and that would be another thing to help out in case of a hurricane. and
correct,
stuff like that.
correct.
Advance notice,
Yep,
that type of.
yep. Your OEM and the county OEM would be in the same building. Police, dispatch would all be in the same building. The discussion really kind of makes sense the further you get into it. But as far as funding goes and as far as contractual obligation, that's something that the lawyers are going to have to figure out based on state statute.
Well, right now, the county owns the ground, the township owns the building.
Right.
So it would make sense that the county would own both of them and then go from there and just.
That's why we're here tonight, to open up the discussion.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it required or preferred to have police where the dispatch is for national security?
Chief's here, he'll answer that one, he'll say yes. It's preferred to have the dispatchers and the police as close as possible, correct? Same building would be ideal, right, yep.
So how much can we charge you?
How much can you charge us for that? I don't know. I'll just bring sheriff guys in, that's all. Did you have another question?
Just about the animals, listen, you were saying 0.2%?
Mhm.
Okay, make it 0.3%, build a decent building over there to put the animals in. I do not think trailers will make it through a hurricane. And we are gonna get hit, you're gonna have animals in cages.
Yep.
They're gonna be sitting ducks, they're gonna be drowned.
Yeah, well, not really, because we used them in, the one trailer went to Ocean County during Sandy and it survived. We've got it figured out pretty well.
In Florida, when the trailer parks get demolished.
Well, that's a trailer park. They're not secured the way we've got these designed. They work. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know if you feel that you have a deadline, because you put out some figures, they're going to have a deadline, or some, they're today's figures, or tonight. What are we talking about, 6 months, we're talking about 2 months, I mean, what?
If I had to guess, you're probably talking 3 to 6 months for the final agreements to be made, and probably another year and a half for construction. Right, right. And then it'll go from $1.50, it'll go up to $2 for the building. No.
There are allowances in the dollar figures that I presented. I didn't have it up there, but evidence showing I put a $100,000 number. I just finally got the number back
Use the
today.
mic, please. She had to go.
There are allowances in the budget figures that we presented today. For instance, evidence shelving. I had put a budget figure of $100,000. I just got the cost figure back today for $70,000. So there's an extra $30,000 in there that we can shift over that was included in your 2.6 portion. So, of course.
Okay.
Have any questions?
Well, I think council does, at least comments. Tom?
This is what we've been talking about for a little bit, and from what I'm seeing, it's even better than what we thought when we were talking about it when the proposal for a new building there. The savings are there, and it's long-term. I'm looking at everything. I wasn't even sure countywide dispatch was going to be this close, and that was one of my arguments. This could save the township in the long run. Shared service, we've been talking about it. It's going to save us. It's going to save the county taxpayers, which we all are. And the dispatch and the service, I think this is going to be better, and we're seeing a significant savings. I think this is a good idea.
With all the years in the fire service that I've seen and heard central dispatch, probably for over 20 years now, 25 years, and it looks like we're here. And Mr. Puglia, as you said, we need to start thinking outside the box. We need to start thinking different ways on how we can save money. Shared services, I've been an advocate for shared services for quite some time now. To me, this is a no-brainer. We can get county dispatch going, fix that building, and properly maintain it so it stays in good shape, I think is the avenue to go. And again, we're saving millions of dollars, not thousands of dollars. We're saving millions of dollars going this way.
Art?
Well, first of all, as elected officials, when we're elected by the people, all right, our main objective, our main job is to save the people money and to keep them safe. This obviously, in many, many ways, does both. I remember hearing Mr. Butler say that if we had a Category 3 or a superstorm again, right here, we wouldn't be here. So this location is very important. It's the highest ground in the township, one of the safest areas in our whole county. Not only that, but it would be a mecca of safety for the county, and it's a win-win, especially for the people of Lower Township. With that being said, we're looking at it down the road, saving not $1 million a year, but millions of dollars a year through shared services with the county, providing a safer environment for the people of Lower Township, a better environment for our police department, our fire safety, and our EMS, and a better facility for the county OEM as well. Not to mention that the county dispatch, we all know that is a trend that is taking over. It saves money. It provides a safer, it basically provides a safer means to getting to people in an emergency. And I just see this as a win-win for everybody. And like Tom said, not only that, besides being Lower Township taxpayers, we are Cape May County taxpayers. We're going to benefit twofold. And I think it's a great idea, and I thank Mr. Palugi, Mr. McMahon, to come down and give this presentation. Thank you.
I'll bet you can't wait for me to speak. Central dispatch has been on the table a long time, but I remember the latest impetus, the kickstart, came out of the mayor's luncheon with Mike Vole, and I'll give him credit for that because he's the one a few years back that regenerated this. I think everybody that has any common sense is in favor of centralized dispatch and shared services. That's not an issue. I'm totally in favor of that. Have pushed it, have been to the meetings, and you know that. Okay? So let's go to the second part of this because it's not one huge issue, it's a variety of issues. Marty, where's your police station at?
My police station is on a barrier island.
It's next to your township building. And God forbid, I hope you don't have any schools near it because you may find it hard to believe, but there's people here that don't want to see the police near any schools. But you're about 100 feet, 200 feet from the municipal building to the police station.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very dense population, very dense housing. It's all consolidated.
Right. And the point of it is that I have fought and continue to fight that the police should be back here at Town Hall. Okay, well, excuse me. You know, I listened to you, I didn't yell, I didn't interrupt, so please give me a chance to speak. There's a variety. First off, I've got reports. How many times have we had mold issues in the building? Can anybody tell me that? Does anybody know? It goes back to 1991 that we had air quality reports from the 90s. Go ahead, Anne-Marie.
From what I was told, I believe there were 6 remediation projects conducted on the building. The problem with that is if you're not fixing the cause, it's going to come back.
And we can debate this, whether or not a flat roof, as somebody said, is the answer to this, because we put a flat roof on. And when you start cutting holes to put air conditioner units in there, you are creating 16 source points for it to go. It's a sick building. You can spend a lot of money on it, and they did that before. Our town, in its infinite, wisdom, 25 years ago, whatever, spent $100,000 on that with the expectation that it would cost in the hundreds of thousands to fix that thing. And $4 million later, we still have a money pit. All right, now, my point is this, and let me just finish with it. It's embedded. Every time we get one, we've had the same rooms. You're cutting holes in the roof, you're putting a flat roof up there. You're creating source points for water. We've had numerous leaks. We've repaired the roof numerous times. It hasn't, I remember a few years ago, we put the roof over the court building. I forget what the total was. I don't have all my numbers here. But we're playing whack-a-mole with this. And you're spending $6 million, including the cost for the shared service for the dispatch. Wouldn't it be better to tear it down and to start over again with something like that? I mean, reality is that you're rolling the dice on this. Would the county be prepared to indemnify the township for any future mold occurrences? Would the township be prepared to indemnify the township for any lawsuits that occur because of mold? Will the county indemnify the township for any cost overruns? Because I wish these questions had been darn well asked 25 years ago. Had they been asked 25 years ago, we wouldn't have shot $4 million down the drain trying to put a silk shirt on a pig. At the end of the day, it's still a pig. It's just wearing the silk shirt. And the end result of it is, I think we're better off in the long run getting rid of that building. I would prefer to see it come back here, but the second option would be tear that down and rebuild new over there. Because you're rolling the dice. Once we cut it open, we've been told this before, then the fun really begins. Even though you're taking it down to the bone, there's so much that's involved over there. And you're sitting back, I'm not sure. I still have a lot of questions. Maybe it is better that the county take it. And then if this is what the county wants to do, let them invest in it. And then we'll pay a lease arrangement. But I'm saying to you that if you're asking me to go down the same trail and to do the same thing they did 25 years ago, which was insanity, which sends this township not only to an economic money pit, but it also did something as a professional police officer and somebody intricately involved in this concept of community policing. It put our police at the back of an airport, which I think any mayor would sit back and say that's not the preferred seating arrangement for the police. Yours is right next to town hall. There's so many advantages to that we've been through this constantly. All I'm saying is that if you're asking me to sit here tonight and smile and say this is a great plan, I won't do that.
No, Mayor, we're not asking for a vote. We're not asking you to do that. What we would ask you to do would be a letter of intent by the township and a letter of intent from the county to the township to explore in detail the whole project.
Well, some of the things I mentioned, Marty, are some of the things I will need. And that includes...
That would come up with the negotiation.
That would
come up with
include some kind of a
exploring it.
guarantee that when we can open this thing, and we start finding out it's a lot more complicated than we thought, that we're not going to be following that same breadcrumb trail that they followed 25 years ago. And we're throwing township money down the drain. I mean, I saw the bills, and I saw the tab that finally came from that, and I often wondered whether any of them woke up in the middle of the night after the first $1 million was spent and said, what the heck are we doing? But once you start to spend money, once you do cut the roof open, once you start doing this, there's no coming back.
Well, what was the plan to leave fire and EMS in that building and not?
Well, what the plan would have been in the long run, one of the options was to take 2/3 of the building down and leave the one part that was structurally sound. But all of it wasn't, and that was contingent on moving forward and negotiating with them. And there was other options that had been discussed too, in-house, such as relocating, even putting some facilities down at the MUA and having some of them located there, more towards the center of town. So it wasn't that we were flying blind, it's just that we had to take it one step at a time. And the point I'm saying to you now is, you've got some things that I need to see before I can even consider doing this.
Well, the liability would fall on the county also, because we would have employees in that building also.
I
So
get
we're not
that.
going to allow employees to be in that building, not.
That I'm blowing the whistle on it. I'm saying to you that, to me, we've experienced this before. How can you have a building, and you know, the whole concept of it, I don't believe it ever stopped leaking. My feeling is that it leaked from the day we took it over. And when
That's
you
the
have.
source of the problem. I mean,
Well, I
you
get
have
that,
to
but the
fix.
point is that when you have a flat roof, and when you have the winds we have down here, and you start cutting holes in the roof, and start putting all these units up there, you're just begging for problems.
Well, there are 17 units now, and we plan on consolidating them to have less units.
Well,
so
I
less
understand, but
limitations, and then repair the roof.
You know, you're sitting back, and you are going towards a setting which is the same that we had before, which is a flat roof. As was said before, if you were serious, not necessarily, but I mean, if you really wanted to fix it, you would go to a truss roofing system. It would look like the Eiffel Tower over there.
Well, I think she says they're going to be pitched so that it's not flat.
Yeah, flat roofs are never flat. They have a pitch.
Yeah, they have, I get that,
But
but
the
it's not the
problem-
pitch that would
the roof-
necessitate. You've
the
got
roof-
there was a warranty on the other one, too. And the fact of the matter is,
I
once you.
enforce my warranties. I'm very strict
Well,
in enforcing our warranties.
We never,
Well, the other side of it is, like I said, if you're that confident, give us the guarantee, indemnify the township. Okay, put that in there and say, well, anything that comes up, any mold-related issues, any lawsuits involved there, the township's covered. You guys
Well, like we said,
carry
the
water.
county would be in that building also, so it
Well,
would be our
I know,
liability.
but I'm the one that's sitting here trying to protect Lower Township.
The county administration building went through a remediation. As I said before, it was a $523,000 remediation. That was the ductwork, the piping, the ceiling tiles, insulation, everything. I work in the county administration building. I have no fear that the county didn't do it properly. That's what we would do on this building if it was necessary.
Okay, well, thank you for your presentation.
You know, I like the fact that, you know, you guys are willing to give our police a state-of-the-art police building. We sat up here and listened to a project that would have cost well over $6 million, we all know that, for a no-frills police building that was missing dispatch, didn't have the right amount of parking, and wasn't even for the jail cells and for the courts. We couldn't even move them at the time. So I like to hear state-of-the-art for our police and not no frills. It sounds much better to me, and I think our police deserve it. Thank you.
Well, I don't know, all of a sudden it becomes a cost that wasn't mentioned there. The second issue that I'm saying to you is that you look at this from an economic standpoint. I look at it from economic, but also from an administrative and from a police science perspective. And I see an opportunity here. I absolutely support the shared service agreements. I mean, to me, if I had my choice, we would do the shared service agreement with you for everything but bring the police back here. They belong in the neighborhood. There's nobody's going to convince me otherwise.
What if you don't live in this
That
neighborhood?
being, excuse
There's
me, I
many
will
neighborhoods.
not interrupt you. Thank you. But the second choice would be to build a brand-new, demolish that thing and put a new building over there. I don't like, right now, we don't even have, I mean, when we get leaks over there, we got to come up with a plan to get people out of these rooms. I mean, it just isn't right. You've got the same room that's had mold 2 years in a row. And this is, we got to, it was deemed a sick building going back 6 months ago, and I still believe it is. The fact that we had a reoccurrence just a month ago feeds into my perception of that. but thank you. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
Just to give you a background, I actually, am, like I said before, the project manager for the jail. I've designed the courthouse renovation project. I did a prosecutor's renovation. I've done 2 county security projects, and I worked for the FBI for 8 years. So I have a background in law enforcement, so I know the questions to ask, and I know, the avenues to study, to do police buildings. So I just wanted to.
I would also like
Hopefully
to thank
reassure-
Marty and Anne Marie because I have met with them over the past 6 weeks on numerous occasions, and I know how much time they've put into coming up with a concept that may or may not work for us, but a lot of work went into this, and it's something that council will have a lot to think about as we move forward and make a decision. And we're discussing the situation in that police station right now to let you know the mayor is correct. And proactively, we did remediation over there just 6 weeks ago, and it is an ongoing battle. But I have a report that shows when they finished it about 14 days ago, our workers at that point were working in a good situation. But things seem like they do pop up. And every time I get into it, he said 1991. I thought it was 1989, but it has been a long battle. But we're trying to give our police department a great place to work and move forward in the township. And again, thank you very much for all your time.
Thank you, Jim.
And real quick,
Thank you, Mayor, Council, for allowing us to
Thank you, Marty.
at least open up the discussion. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to us.
And real quick, Marty, before you leave, just to let you know, it's time for us to move forward to get the police situation, that building situated now, not keep kicking it down the road as we've been doing for the past few years and not doing the maintenance. And as far as I'm concerned, you have my full support in getting that letter of intent as soon as possible.
I second that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. We move down now to the consent agenda. People that have comments, questions, or council first. There's a couple things on there that we probably should. Yeah, let some of the people head on down the road. The Resolution 2015-120, it has to do with an award of an extraordinary unspecified service contract without public bidding for Stuart Fowler.
This is for the FEMA map.
You just
Right, we're sitting, no, I'm just saying, no, I want to make some comments.
Okay, yeah. No, I agree with
We have been fighting FEMA with the V-zone, and we need to use this gentleman further. Could you do us a favor and step to the back, please, so we can continue? Thank you. There's a couple different points to be made. It boils down to, within the legislation itself, it specifies, and I think we've explained this before, about the fact that the V-zone extends through the bay to the toe of the first dune on the landward side. And there is another method they use to establish the WAFIS, which is called, I think it's called the WAFIS method.
Office, yes.
And that is, if you don't have a dune, they shoot all these different readings, and they determine where your the wave height is reached, because when it breaks, the model is done working. The point of it is that because we have the dune, which seems to give us more protection, it actually hurts us when it comes in relationship to FEMA, because we're being held to the legislated definition of the V-zone, which means that the dune comes into play, where up in Reed's Beach, which is flat, they're not in the V-zone. Because of it says, using this model in, say, up in Reed's Beach, it underrates the storm risk, but using the dune rule in Lower Township vastly exaggerates the storm hazard potential. So we get the short end of the stick on this, and we have to fight this. In the meantime, we have to get a message out to our residents who are in the V-zone along the bay. And and we've had the meeting here, and we had Stu Farrell down here, and for some of them that were going to appeal their individual home being in the V-zone, and they were going to use, for instance, a bulkhead structure that may be in front of their home, and they were instructed at that point to get some kind of an engineering certification in reference to that. And if they have done that or plan to do that, there's a 90-day process which has begun to tick on this, and they need to get the information into us as soon as they possibly can.
Have we gotten the official letter yet, or are we still waiting for the
So I was
start?
just going to ask, because I had spoken with Bill about that. We talked about that, so I don't...
Mayor, also, do you have I know it started ticking, what is the deadline after the 90 days?
Well, we have to wait till it actually comes in, and then that starts the 90-day.
I think,
I thought they started.
I thought it did.
They told us they was going to come in, but
Bill Galestock is on vacation, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have to take a look at that, but we're going
I
to try and get a
believe it
letter
started.
out. But in the
I believe it started
meantime,
already.
anybody that has this, and maybe we'll do a press release on this too. I think that tomorrow we'll get that together. But I just wanted to highlight that part. Okay, is there any other council comments or questions on the consent agenda? Okay, we'll open up the public comment. Close the public, there's one guy here, slow to raise his hand, but we got him in under the wire.
Ed Butler from Lower Township. Picking up on what you were just saying about FEMA and the whole thing right there. You have 90 days after they approve the new maps. Now, the maps have not been approved yet, so there's no time limit on that as far as right now. So we have to continue to fight this situation so we can get some kind of decision from them from the Bay. But in the meantime, you attended, and Deputy Mayor attended, and Mr. Ridgway attended a meeting up there with
Right.
Jeff and Drew. Is there any progress on that? Have you been contacted or moving along with that for all the municipalities and counties? along
One of the
Bay?
things,
Huh?
one of the things that maybe we should do is to, the problem is we're stuck in this law, that the bigger waters, and the definition of the V-zone, and they have I don't think it's an option. If you have a primary dune like we do that sits out front like that, they use the landward side,
Right.
of the toe of the landward side of the first dune. And the point that we're trying to say is, well, don't do that. Use the WAFIS method, and this is what Stu Farrell's trying to help us with. Now, in the meantime, maybe I don't know if we've done anything formal in relationship to a resolution to the congressman.
I
Maybe
think that would help.
I think that would help. So maybe we could do something for the next meeting and to put something formal on here as a resolution.
And Lou Biondo's office contacted me this morning, and Bill Galestock, our guy, along with Stu Farrell, had given us bullet points that could help us.
Right.
When he mentions the WAFIS method and also the difference between the waves, obviously on the ocean side and the bay, I shot him 7 or 8 different bullet points that we had discussed up at the meeting so that Lou Biondo would know not only that, the seriousness of what is happening with people going into the V zones that have never been in there. I also discussed with him, why couldn't many of these properties be grandfathered in? The ones that have never had this insurance. But again, I think we need someone, we all agree that 6, 7, 8 municipalities together fighting for that is a much better battle than just Cape May Beach or the Villas and.
Well, it might be helpful if we did a resolution.
yes.
Do we have a consensus on that? Only because it would help him as he goes back to his people and says, look, so you all right with that? Yes, sir. You okay with it?
You know, right now, just what you said, and you haven't came to that point till it's been brought up now, the resolution. And each one of these townships, or each one of the counties, they don't do the same thing and start putting pressure politically on Lobiondo and also on your other senators, because one law was passed that Mendez and Booker put in with that, and it was signed by the president as far as the insurance. I brought it up at a prior meeting and all. So with this, if there's nothing in writing putting pressure from this council or the rest of the different councils or thing, and it's in there in writing and you agree to it, we can sit here and talk all you want about it.
Well, also,
Here it is up there, and they got it.
Us receiving the coastal resiliency grant, I think is an asset for us also, because.
Well, what we can do, and not to interrupt you, is the fact that, first of all, each town has its own specific problems.
Yeah,
So
and that's the problem.
What I'm saying is that you may not, if you go up the Maurice River or whatever, they have FEMA problems, but it might not be related to the situation that we're referring to.
No, they got
So
problems with
they
the
got- they-
river.
that, you know, we all have a variety of different issues with FEMA.
Well, I think what me and Drew is trying to do is get all these problems and get a common core.
Right. Well, we'll send it
What
out.
it is, if it's going to be a
Yeah.
berm all the way down there or build up, but if it's not presented as a whole, it's not going to happen.
We will send the resolution once it's passed to all
right.
the coastal communities, and we just email it to them and to the senator too.
That'll be fine. That'll give it a little pressure that way
Okay.
too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the consent agenda?
Mike Rosenberg, Villas. I just had a question on 119. I don't understand what a basketball system is.
Isn't that the resurfacing?
Surfaces is in there, but then
I can tell you what,
okay.
the basketball systems are the new type of backboards. The fiberglass where we can lower them from 10 feet to 8 feet if you've been down near Channel Apartments and seen the brand new ones there, that's a system. And they're going to do the same thing in 2 of the other parks now, along with resurfacing.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any other comments or questions? All right, close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve?
Approval of the minutes from March 16th and March 23rd, resolution number 2015-106 through resolution 2015-121.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2015-122, this is for an appointment to the Rec Advisory Board.
Do I have any comments, suggestions from
I would
council?
like to nominate Mary Rose Bisfels. We talked about her at the last one.
We did.
And she is actually being supported by the Rec Advisory Board. I'd like to put her on. Make the
Okay.
motion.
Do I have, public comment? We have to have public comment.
Yeah, I'll-
Then we'll come back and make the, okay, close the public portion. Do I have a
Make a
second?
motion.
A second.
All right.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2015-02, an ordinance amending Chapter 166, Animals of the Code of the Township of Lower. This is the second reading and public hearing for this ordinance. This ordinance has been published, posted on the bulletin boards, and made available to the public at no cost.
Okay, council comments on
We've
this?
talked enough.
Public comment? Come on down. No.
Helen Thompson, 4040 Delaware Parkway. Mr. Perry, what was it, a month ago? Like, you weren't here last meeting, you had said that you felt concrete floors were cool enough, relatively cool in the summer. From the original ordinance got pulled that night, and it got changed, the wording got changed to remove the garage and basement unless heated in cold months or air conditioned in hot months will not be considered adequate. 2 weeks ago, when you missed the meeting, I presented what happened at that Cape May County Animal Shelter with, when they opened, they didn't have air conditioning, but they did have concrete floors. And in 2006, there was a whistleblower, and they said in the summer, like they were closing the shelter during the day, there's newspaper articles, because on the hot days, when the temperature was in the 90s or whatever, outside, close to 100, in the high 90s, it was almost 90 degrees in the shelter. Dogs were getting sick, they were having seizures, dogs and cats, and they were dying in there. And they had concrete floors in there, and they weren't cool enough alone. And so the ordinance was changed because of what you said. I'm guessing because that's why it was pulled. And the Cape May County Animal Shelter proves what happened over there, that concrete floors alone are not cool enough. And the new ordinance allows dogs and cats to be placed in a garage now with no ventilation, and it has to meet the above temperature specifications, which could be as high as 90 degrees. And in the winter, they it allows them to be on concrete floors at 32 degrees. And that's what the new ordinance allows, that you guys are getting ready to vote on right now.
What is it you would like?
What I would like is either the garage removed completely or some kind of airflow in this garage in the summer months. Because dogs are going to get sick in here and dogs are going to die. And I'm going to cut through the mustard. A lot of this isn't directed at probably 90% of the population in this county or this township. It's presented at a minority of the people in this township. And these are people that have to be told now to bring their dogs in extreme weather conditions. I'm not sure that it's going to matter all that much on where those dogs get put. And so I would like ordinances that animal control can enforce. And Mike, in a newspaper article, you said that
It'd be an enforcement nightmare.
this would be an enforcement nightmare, the ordinance that I want.
Right.
Well, the problem is animal control enforces this ordinance, and they're the ones that wrote the original ordinance. And it's passed in Wildwood, and it's passed in Upper, the original with temperature controlled and heated and cold months in the winter and air conditioned in hot months for the summer, for the garage and basement. And I think they would know by now if it was an enforcement nightmare. And Mr. Perry, in the newspaper, you're quoted as saying, wait a minute, about animal control. They're the experts, and they're the ones that would be calling the shots. Except for they're not calling the shots, because you guys took it upon yourselves to rewrite their ordinance. The ordinance, there's a,
What is it that they have in the one that you wanted that's, like it and
you
kill?
removed the last two lines. You removed, this made it to the first reading, and this council removed this. You
It
removed,
says, indoors will include any area of the residence and shall conform to the above temperature specification.
that's what you put in now.
Right.
That's after you removed it. That allows dogs and cats to be put in garages down to 32 degrees and basements and on concrete floors, and it also allows them to be put in garages up to 90 degrees.
But they're
No
the numbers you
ventilation.
asked for.
Huh? No, that's not what I asked for.
No, you,
This
this
is
is,
This is the ordinance I presented. The last two lines, this made it to the first reading.
agree with the G
Said,
coverage
Mr.
real well.
Conrad, the last two lines said, indoors will include any area of the residence which is temperature controlled. You remove that line. And it also said the garage and basement, unless heated in cold months or air conditioned in hot months, will not be considered adequate. Those two lines, the last slide especially, gave animal control the option to consider in the garage and basement adequate. You guys removed that, and you put in a line, you combined two lines to make it one line that said indoors will include any area of the residence and shall conform to the above temperature specifications, which are 32 and 90. So now, as long as they're within, they're not below 32 and they're not above 90, it's fine. So 90-degree garages is fine as long, according to this council, to put dogs and cats in with no ventilation.
And as I said, you brought the number 90 to us, and we agreed with you.
I brought a different ordinance to you. You reworded it.
Okay, yes, because we had to look at common sense, and I agree with the mayor. Section G covers most of that.
Yeah,
Section G of the ordinance covers,
anything that you would have. And I mean, that, you know, we kind of talked about this, that the problem you have is by setting specific numbers, what you really do is, like I try to explain, there's dogs that are 3-year-old husky that may fight to stay outside when it's 30 degrees, and then you have a 16-year-old hairless Chihuahua that it's 35 degrees, and technically you could chain him up outside, and he's scratching like heck to get inside. I'm just saying to you that no matter what numbers we use, if there's an issue that involves some kind of abuse, Section G1 covers it.
Well, animal control, that section was already there, plus that's a state law. Okay, also, this ordinance was sent by animal control after that state law. That had been a state law and a township law. So animal control must have felt the need to send this ordinance and get it passed already in 2 different towns.
Well, you know, we talked about this, we deliberated on it, and council has said this is what they want. Now, it's up to anybody, you've made your point. If anybody on council wishes to change it, they need to speak now that we can go.
I do want to make one more point.
Go ahead.
Mr. Perry, about what Mike Beck said about an enforcement nightmare.
correct.
It's not an enforcement nightmare as far as animal control goes, because they're the ones that wrote it. Mr. Perry, I know the only other people that could possibly enforce an ordinance would be the Lower Township Police Department. Mr. Perry, I know you have a son on the Lower Township Police Department, and I know you instigated or initiated the change in this ordinance. And this ordinance, written as it is now, allows, when people call, and just let me finish and I'll be out of here. They allow, when people call now and say, well, something's wrong with this dog in the house, anybody can just say, the Lower Township Police Department now can say, is the dog inside? Yep, the dog's inside. That's what the ordinance required. Done. So,
Thank you.
just thought I'd note that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else that has a question on this? Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Well, come on down. State your name.
My name's Pat.
Hi, Pat. And your last name, please, it's for the,
Oh, Tater.
okay. From the Villas,
Yes.
okay.
I live on Jacksonville. 32 degrees, keep an animal outside. I don't care if he's a husky or if he's a hairless Chihuahua. That's just so unfair.
Well, it depends how
you
long
wanna-
he's out there.
Listen, you leave them out there for 10 minutes and they're going to be hurting, okay? And if it's 32 degrees, let you stand out there.
Excuse me, Pat, you got to address
If
that.
you stand out there yourself with just barely a sweater on, you're not going to tolerate it either. Okay? You don't have hair. How about the guys who don't have hair on their head? Do you not get cold? Do you not feel it? Okay? You do. I mean, to say 32 degrees, which is freezing, and your pipes can freeze at 32, you think that's okay to leave your dog out there a half hour, maybe 2 if you're just running to the market? I just think that's unfair.
Thank you.
Okay? And at 90 degrees in a garage, I'm dying. Okay? I may not be a dog, but I know when I go in my garage to do cleanup or to go dig something out of it, and it's above 90 degrees outside, I know it's hard to breathe inside my garage unless I've got my doors open. All right?
Thank you.
It's just the nature of things. The building absorbs heat. It doesn't just let it out unless you've got some open ventilation. So you're sticking a dog or any other animal in a garage without some kind of ventilation at 90 degrees. That's just too high a number.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's that gentleman right there, I believe.
Somebody else wish to address council on this?
I'm Carl Schneckenberger from Lower Township. I'm opposed to this law. I don't think there's any necessity to have any temperature control. And I fully aware that even with humans, when there's temperatures, they're very hot, you always read, every year, 2 elderly people in Chicago died. Now, we don't go around making laws that every human being, therefore, should be inside an air-conditioned building every time the temperature goes to 91. We don't do that. And it's the same thing with dogs. Dogs do not die. I'm out there pitching away in softball every Sunday. I'm 82 years old, no problems. The people have their dogs, they're chasing the balls around, having fun. I also live in the area where there's a little properties, and people have their kids and their dogs out playing in the snow. It's 20 degrees. I'm out there shoveling the snow, there's no problem. There's no necessity, just because 2 problems exist, to force everybody in the town to have an air-conditioned garage or to put their dogs in. If I'm out there shoveling snow at 20, then the dog can be out there at 20. If I'm out there pitching for 3 hours in the 95-degree heat, then the dog can be out there and there's no problems to him. With full awareness that there are 2 decrepit humans every year reported that die because of heat.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I do not want cops lurking around, let the dog out there, he's scratching on the door. I can't! It's 31 degrees and there's a cop hiding behind the light pole with a thermometer. Let him go on the rug.
I think it applies like
I mean, it's
tethered or
going a
kennel
little
dogs.
absurd
Okay.
here, and
Okay, Carl, let me
with these
explain something.
temperatures,
This is for people that would take their dog and tie him to a tree, and it's 20 degrees out, and just leave him there. It's not about somebody out shoveling snow and the dog's out playing in the snow and all that. That's not the purpose.
Well, the lady said 10 minutes, I'll kill him. It's absurd.
I'm explaining to you that, and a lot of what I agree with you. One of the things about animal ordinances is because, unlike humans, they don't get to make choices. They are put outside. They don't get to come back inside because they want to. They only get to come back inside if somebody lets them back in. And the point I'm trying to say is that doesn't apply to somebody that's out there building a snowman with their kids and the dog's hopping around the snow. That's not what we're talking about. It says in extreme weather, et cetera, all outdoor dogs and indoor dogs, cats, must be whether tethered or kenneled. So if you've got a dog in a cage sitting outside and he's in a kennel and it's 20 degrees and he's stuck inside a kennel, you're wrong. That's what we're trying to basically say.
And not just for a few hours, but like for 24/7 or overnight and stuff like that. That's what this is to protect the animals from. So they do have water and everything else. Because if it's below freezing.
I mean,
But that's it.
please realize that we're in a very temperate weather zone
I got
here. We're not down south where there's 120. We're not up in Maine and Alaska where it's 40 below. This is a very temperate. We're in the central, and we're even more temperate than central states because we got this ocean to moderate things.
Yep. Well,
That's why people like me move here, because the temperature's moderate.
I agree with
It doesn't kill humans and it doesn't kill dogs.
But 99% of the
do that.
residents, this does not apply to. It's the 1% that we have an issue with, that this is.
The ones without common sense.
Right, exactly.
And I think the mayor made a good point last time. I mean, when you get into numbers, if it's 1 degree above, and some idiot leaves their dog out in that kind of heat or that kind of cold for hours and hours, but they're still technically above the, above the degrees that it specified in the resolution. And basically Section 3G covers those: no owner, caretaker, guardian, or handler shall without proper shelter, protection from the weather, et cetera. And number 2, again, no animal shall be subjected to unnecessary suffering, cruelty, such as subjecting the animal to prolonged fear, injury, pain, or physical abuse. And I think that, common sense and, being a good pet owner.
So with what you're passing, there is no way that the neighbor up the street can call 911 and get a cop to come and arrest me? There's no possibility, no cop will show up
No, Carl, we're not.
when she calls 911
It would have to be
with a
at the.
thermometer?
If you have, The thermometer police, we're not hiring them. It's it would only be a deal where somebody had a dog that's, like I said, chained out in the cold, just laying there, can't go anywhere, short leash, and then we got to do something about it. But you know, again, Carl, 99% of the people in this town care about their animals, and they're not going to do that. But for the 1%, well, yeah, we would dust this off and go over and say, you can't do this.
Well, nobody's going to force me to
Nobody's gonna
put
do that,
air
Paul.
conditioning and heating
No,
duct in
no.
my garage.
No.
Got rid of that.
That's not there.
This is what I gathered from the newspaper reports, by the way.
I got it. Thank you.
Oh, no.
How you doing, Mayor, Council? Bob Harmon, Cold Spring. Let me read you something. This is in regards to this ordinance. Inflict unnecessary cruelty upon a living animal or creature of which he has charge, either as owner or otherwise, or unnecessarily fail to provide it with proper food, drink, shelter, protection from the weather, or leave it unattended in a vehicle under inhumane conditions adverse to health, welfare of the living animal or creature. It's a disorderly person's offense under New Jersey Statute 43-3 with not less than $250 fine nor more than $1,000 fine. That's state law. Why are we creating a local ordinance that's going to be less? So let me go on further. I'll be the bad guy now, Mayor, since you were on that building. Let me ask you a
I'm
question.
not a bad guy.
Mayor, when you were in Vietnam, was it over 90 degrees?
I don't think it was ever under.
Are you still here?
Yeah, well, I was like a dog. I had no choice. I was drafted.
Mr. Perry, when you used to do electrical work, did you work over 90 degrees? In working houses, less than 32 degrees?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Conrad, I don't know what you did with a kid, but with the rescue squad, did you go into houses that was, say, over 100 degrees? It was cooler outside under the shade tree?
Oh, yes.
Old people just love that.
The ones that don't open the windows during the summer, that's why we got to
Okay.
get rid of that air conditioning stuff.
So it'd be
Don't-
safer for the dog to be outside rather than be in the house with those people, right? It's 100 and some degrees. It's good intentions, but somebody's got to say, this is bat crap crazy. There's no other word for it, you know? So if you're going to do it, instead, why don't you say, any person who subjects a dog or cat to extreme weather conditions that either kills or severely deforms said animals shall be determined by a licensed New Jersey vet, shall be subject to fine and penalties set forth in Section 4. In addition, the violator shall be responsible for veterinarian costs if so found. The reason I'm saying is just today, I read in the paper that some town did away with, a guy can't have more than 40 pigeons. Where they come up with 40 racing pigeons, I don't know. When I was a kid, I had racing pigeons. I had 200 of them. We had goats, we had ducks, we had chickens. I had an outside dog. It was a Sooner. You couldn't take it in the house because it would sooner go on the floor than outside. You couldn't train that dog to not go in the house. Put him outside. Built a dog box, insulated it. In the wintertime, put a light bulb in it for him. He was an outside dog. I'm born and raised here. I was a cop for 27 years. Never did I ever hear a dog froze to death. It's a small town. Back in those days in the Villas, you were probably a kid then too, Mayor. Did you ever hear of anybody's dog freezing to death? I know you're down in the summertime, but no, we would have knew. If somebody's beagle died, we all would have knew about it. Now, you got hunters in town. They're not taking their beagles inside. They're outside dogs. They don't want them to die. They protect them. So if somebody does this, I say, yeah, burn them. But 32 with 90, I'm going to guarantee you, as soon as it reaches 90 degrees, do-gooders are going to be out, and they're going to be calling the police. And don't say it won't happen, because years ago, when we had a water shortage thing, there was a councilman that was going out at 5 o'clock in the morning feeling the lawns to see if somebody sprayed on their lawns, and they called the police. You want to hire 4 new cops? They're not going to have time for this, and I'm going to guarantee you. People, like this gentleman over here said it almost best. outside dog's an outside dog, and when it's 90 degrees, it's not that hot. I did concrete work where it was 140 degrees over the concrete. I'm still here. You're here, you're here, you're here. And sorry there, Mr. Simonson.
It's all right.
I don't know what you did. I don't know what you did, but you might have went to Lower Cape May Regional, didn't you?
I did.
Do you remember them long hallways that were not air conditioned? How hot was it in there for school days?
When you were wearing a wetsuit and running in them, it was got pretty hot.
I mean, technically, if you had a dog in there under this new thing, you'd be in violation. Scrap that stuff. Use the state law. The state law is more powerful, and it's a disorderly person's offense, it's not a local ordinance. And Mr. Stefankowitz, doesn't state law just wipe out a local ordinance? It's illegal.
Well, truth be told, the Administrative Office of the Courts has red flagged this particular ordinance, which doesn't mean they're saying it's unlawful. They're just saying you might want to take a look at it to see if state law.
There you go.
That's,
Well, you want me to
I'll make
say?
the motion. I'll be the bad guy. I'll let you.
To do what?
Let's make a motion to table this and find out what the state law is and possibly revert. Just to see what's the red flag. Let's table it.
I think what they're looking for is they're looking for a legal opinion as to whether or not it's preempted. When they get the legal opinion, if they get a legal opinion from me, they wouldn't look beyond that opinion, at least in my experience.
Well,
If I say it's good, it's probably okay, but if I say it's bad, it's probably not okay. But the point is, the Administrative Office of the Courts is aware of what was it, 2C 43.3 and Title 4.
Well, it couldn't have come out of our township because other towns already have it.
They do. I think what happened is someone from, I'm surmising, someone from municipal court tried to put it into the ATS system because it's tied into a penalty, monetary penalty, and that automatically triggers the AOC to take a look at it. And they have an attorney that works for the AOC who, but usually, I haven't seen it, but usually a letter is generated. I haven't seen such a letter, but,
What's your recommendation?
well,
I mean, do we have legal problems with the ordinance?
No, I don't think we do. Off the top of my head, I don't think the ordinance is preempted off the top of my head. There is one line in the ordinance that I discussed with another attorney in my firm today, and we were looking at it, we were doing a little bit of research, but it's probably okay. I'm gonna give you back something definitive, but I think it's okay. If it ultimately turns out that it's preempted, then it's gonna be off the books anyway.
Well, that's what I mean, that it would, what do you guys want to do? Tell me what you want to do.
I keep the motion to table for right now, and possibly we'll go from there.
David?
Yeah, why don't we, I'll second that motion. Maybe we look at the state law, make sure that this ordinance is not going to conflict with it. It doesn't make sense to pass an ordinance that, number one, you can't enforce, or when you do enforce it, you go to court and it's, take it out.
Ironically, and I should add, the provision that triggered the inquiry was exactly the provision, those two sentences that we're talking about. So the AOC, the attorney from the AOC, as I understand it, focused on that particular section.
All right. Sometimes you're better off with vague terminology than you are something.
Right.
There's something that's my experience. I understand that. But I mean, this did come as a recommendation originally, I believe, from our animal,
That's correct.
Dr. Holland.
I think ultimately Upper Township passed the rendition of the ordinance.
Right.
With,
You know.
the rendition.
Eric, where are you at with it?
I'm fine with tabling it and checking it out further.
Would you like me to call the roll? We have a motion in a second?
Yeah, I guess it's certainly, the legal ramification. There's, like you said, there's no sense in passing something that might get kicked back at us. But, that's got to come from you.
And this was an amendment to the existing ordinance, so by not passing this. we
It still
have the
stays.
Ordinance, in fact, as
Absolutely.
Mr. Hartman said, there's still at least 2 state laws that govern the situation.
Well, and the heart of the enforcement, which remains in that section that we have been discussing, the 3G or whatever.
G1.
That is the backbone of it, regardless of the temperature caveat. So, I mean, I think that, go ahead, call the roll.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes, and to those people who have been advocating it, certainly this is not taking away from you. We appreciate that. Just give us a chance to make sure that what we're doing is exactly what we want to do, and it'll be discussed again, hopefully by the next meeting. I can't put it in there, but we'll stay in touch with you, or you can stay in touch with us. Okay? All right. Moving down, and I am totally lost on my papers.
Council comments.
Council comments.
Well, since we've been here for a couple hours now, April's Police Appreciation Month. Please, stop thanking Officer. Let them know what you think of it. There's a lot of bad things going on, but you heard the letter. That ties right into it. Also, as such, I would like to make a motion to give the county a letter of intent to open discussions officially concerning the public safety complex to get moving on that.
I would like to second that motion.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Perry?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
No,
That's it for me.
I still have a lot more questions.
I understand this is just open discussions, but go from there.
As we saw tonight, we had the county here to talk about a shared services agreement with Lower Township, with possibly bringing the county emergency management here to the airport, also to finally get county dispatch off and running. As Mr. Palugi had stated, that Cape May County is the only county in the state that does not yet have a central dispatch. And it's a win-win. As being in emergency services for over 40 years here, this is a win-win for everybody in the county, not just Lower. And for us to partner with the county, the cost savings, the benefits that we're gonna have of having the county emergency management headquarters here in Lower Township, along with the county dispatch center, to me is just a complete no-brainer. I mean, saving millions of dollars, and one of the greatest shared services agreement probably in the county. So looking forward to working with the county and trying to find out where we can come to an agreement and possibly get this thing off and running.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. The way to go, in the future is to, explore shared services, like with the county, with what was presented this evening, as well as, we're already moving forward and looking ahead to working with our MUA, with other municipalities, in other departments and other areas as well. I would like to thank the MUA for helping out our, all of us as taxpayers or ratepayers or both. I'd like to thank Mr. Ridgway, Leon, and also Lauren on their hard work. I know the budget will be introduced at the next meeting. I think we all have to work together to make sure that our taxes stay down and that the services that are provided, we keep getting the same services and even better as we move forward. Also like to mention that it's always one of my favorite times of the year is April 18th. I know the mayor's always there as well. At 9 a.m. behind Carl Mitnick School is the Lower Township opening day ceremonies for all of Little League, and I believe T-ball and softball as well. So it's pretty neat. So, every kid in the township is there in uniform with our volunteer coaches, and and maybe Mayor and I will do a duet to take me out to the ball game.
I'm always game for something like that.
That's it for me.
I can sit up here and get beat up, why can't I sing? Yeah, that is an exciting day. Hopefully the weather cooperates as far as that. you know, we're all in favor of shared services. I mean, you know, there's, long before, you know, let's just say that I've been involved with the shared service aspect of the dispatch for many, many years here. And I just am amazed that we haven't done that years and years ago. Seems like they start, stop. But it was, like I said, I remember going back about 4 years ago when Vol brought it up at a mayor's luncheon, and we passed a resolution and sent it forward and got the county back on the game, and then we had a couple meetings up at the county. That's this issue here. The other issue is the building. And, you know, I'm not going to get beat up by a shared service issue to support putting money into a building that I don't support. The shared services can be done in a lot of different places, can be done at a new building, can be done at a variety of places. That's shared services. Nobody's going to preempt me on it because I support it. I always have. The concept of this building, as it sits right now, I don't support that. We don't even know how many incidents of mold we've had over there. And you can tell me all you want that it's going to be fixed once we put all the millions that we're about to do on this. And at the end of it, if it doesn't do that, you know, what happens then? And you know, the truth of it is, like I said, is I've always supported bringing the police back here. So with that being said, we move forward and we open it up to a call to the public. George, come on up. All right, we got George first. Go ahead.
George Doherty, Seashore Road. This is for the mayor. I know two of your biggest situations is bringing the police station back to here instead of over there. Now, would you be more on board if we took the building next door and made there is a substation back there, but a bigger substation with a supervisor and let's say three.
You don't have the capacity to man something like that. George, it's not only a question of the proximity of it having in the neighborhood. It's also, like I cite three factors. One is the economic, two is the administrative factor, which is that to me, without a doubt, that the most important, and no offense to any of the other departments, but as far as public safety goes, the most important department is police. They belong next to the manager. He should be sitting down and having a coffee every morning with the police chief. Now, they can ride over here. He can ride over here. He can do that. But that's not the way it's done. You saw where is Avalon's police station? Right next to
right in the center of the island. 33 and Dune Drive is right in the center of Avalon, the island itself. It's centrally.
And you're going to say, and you're going to
ideal location.
Well, geographically, if we tried to geographically center the police station, we'd be probably putting it in Public Works. The point I'm trying to say to you is that you don't do police stations by geography. You do it by needs primarily and population. And this is the center of the needs more than anything, based upon your crime rates and your crime occurrence locations.
So even if we did something, a substation here, just to get you on board, we're trying to see if there's any other way.
Well, I thank you for your efforts, but I think I'm not
asking any other options that are less than building.
I have to see a lot more. I don't even know we would sit down and negotiate with, because I didn't see this paper. I've had no idea what this whole plan was until about an hour and a half ago. So for me to sit here now and say, let's move forward, I'm not prepared to do that.
No, I understand. Just if you're, I understand, but I just don't want this to go on for another year or two if we have something set in place.
Well, when the time comes.
You have a good idea. I liked what I saw today. I thought.
Well, when the time comes, if I say no, I'll make sure people know it's no. You don't have to worry about that.
But if let's say if the building was.
Excuse me, I don't know who's yelling in the back, but would you please stop? It's embarrassing. Go ahead.
But if the building at the airport was definitely, there would be no problems with, they guaranteed it, somehow insured the roof, I don't know if that is.
Well, I mean,
But if that was one of
protect our
the-
residents.
Would that be
protect our people.
halfway bringing you to the?
I don't know yet, George. Can I get a chance to actually look at it?
Yeah, no,
Because I
just
haven't
wanna
seen,
give you-
tonight, you saw the same
idea
things.
of, you know,
What you saw tonight, the minute it was unfurled to you, was the moment that I began to see what was going on. I have no idea what this plan's about.
Just hoping to swayed you a little bit tonight.
Thank you.
You're not going to, this is the plan, that's when I saw it.
Yes.
Right there.
ahead.
And right now.
This gentleman's
I'm
over.
talking right now.
I am.
You're-
I'm just
I know
letting
you're-
him
you're-
know he's next.
Okay, but that's when I found out about, but this is the same thing we were talking about. You're saying, let's fix this. It's time to fix the problem. And this discussion, that's all this is opening up the discussion to see what the options are.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Jay Young, Cape May Beach. I just wanted to say I'm glad we're seeing some alternatives. During the argument as guys were making towards building a new police department right here, I asked for what are the alternatives, and there weren't any. We were moving dead fast forward on the Beck Memorial Police Building going up right here. And I was fine with that, except we're looking for alternatives. And I want to commend Mr. Erickson because he got lambasted for bringing up the idea of rehabilitating that building. And I think you were complaining that this was 11th hour move to try to throw some stuff into the game. But this was a bona fide good idea. And I think it makes some sense. 2.6 million versus 6. And we can
Well,
argue.
Somehow the number's stretched.
Where
I mean, you're putting 6 million into the building, and we do pay county taxes too,
Yeah,
don't forget,
yeah,
Jay.
right, I know.
Okay, number one.
Whatever.
Number two, never forget one thing, Jay. We had not only an independent engineering firm come down here and do a building analysis and said the police station belonged here, but we also had a committee of private citizens who came together and unanimously supported bringing the police building back here. Don't forget that.
All right.
That was long before.
I don't want to argue that point.
Well, it's a truth.
What I want to argue is, we wanted some alternates, some alternate plans other than building a new building here. And I don't think we had that. We didn't have any other option. And this is a good option that's worth consideration. So to move forward and talk about what might be the possibility to use this building to rehabilitate it, to make it a viable alternative versus the other plan is what we should do. So you can argue the nitty-gritty and the details as they come forward, but at least we now have another viable option other than putting a police department right back here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This lady over here.
Kathy Sauersall, 505 Shunpike in Irma. I was wondering if council has any idea what's going on at the airport. I was back there on March 12th, and they cut down and cleared out a whole big section of trees along the fence line. Someone had asked the guy over the airport, and he's like, well, we got a grant, and we're just topping the trees, which isn't true, because I took a bunch of pictures with my cell phone that I could show you right now of the amount of trees that they cut down. And I'm just concerned, why are they cutting so many trees needlessly? It's not like
I have no
it's for
idea.
the airport, you know.
They
running
periodically
places.
top them.
Is that nearly one of the approaches or
That's what
anything,
they-
or?
No, it's, you know where if you're looking at the airport, the fence line that goes
Yeah.
back, you have all your buildings and then the building stop, and then it's all trees. So from that point on, they knocked down a whole section of trees that were close to the fence, and then behind that, they left the trees.
Can you give me your name and
Yeah,
phone number?
that's the only
I'll
way we're
find
gonna
out
get
and
this.
call you.
Yes, Kathy Sauersall.
Well,
Could you spell that sour?
Z-O,
Uh,
yeah.
that's DRBA's doing that stuff.
That's, they were talking about the front gate at one time and all this,
Yeah,
but it's
I
all
need
supposition. You'll have to call them
Let
and
me-
find out.
Let me find out.
Yeah, we'll call. Does anybody else wish to address council? Wait, your hand came up at the 11th hour here. Let's get this guy in.
I wasn't walking too fast. I figure why I drove all the way over from Cold Spring, I'd
Go
give you
for
a
it.
couple of things, yeah. Listen, on that other item, I don't have any dog in the hunt. We got a couple cats that, when I die, I want to come back like one of them, because they're treated really well. But I got to tell you, I know this is a done deal, but in regards to this MUA, I was against the township taking it over in the first place because my main property, I don't have sewer or water. but I got some standing because I own another property where I pay sewer and water, and I just felt it was subsidizing. I felt that, I know they said it wasn't going to commingle, but I lived here 60 years, and I know how things work in Lower Township. Pretty soon it'll all commingle. So for the same reason that I was against taking over the MUA, I'm actually against, I can't flip-flop, I was against taking some of the
Surplus.
Right. Because it's subsidizing for those who, are not a ratepayer. We're going to get the benefits of the extra police. I would have rather seen them pay down their bonds or give the money back to the ratepayers, which they do a great job, because if you look at Middle Township, their cost is a whole lot more. And in regards to that, I even wrote a letter to the Community Affairs, State Community Affairs, which they included in the file, at least that's what the gentleman told me when he called me. It said, Lower Township, I recommended Lower Township not be approved for it, although they did anyway. So that's that one item. But now I have another one. If you don't mind, just indulge me a couple seconds here. And I'm reading. Ed Butler inquired about the cost to taxpayers to lower fire cost in Diamond Beach. Mayor Beck informed the cost of the township is $10,000. The additional $65,000 will be paid by Fire District 3. I read that and thought, does he think Fire District 3 is in Timbuktu? It's in Lower Township. I'm in Ward 3, I'm in Fire District 3, so that's me you're talking about, and everybody else that's in Fire District 3. This wasn't some great financial coup that, it only costs in Lower 10. If the money's in this pocket and I take it out of this one, it's still my pants, that the money came out of. So here's a question I have, and I guess this is for the manager. How much fire tax does Diamond Beach pay Fire District 3? I'm sure that had to be all through the discussions, and I'm sure with the fire commissioners, I'm sure they were there, right?
I can find out for you. I mean, they pay $9.4 million in property taxes over there. How's that number to start with? Because I don't have the breakdown right in front of me. But
9.4 benefits the entire township.
Okay.
And I had this discussion with a previous council member that said they were buying a piece of equipment, and I got no problem with the fire company, whatever equipment they need it. And it was $200-some thousand, and I was like, that's costing Fire District 3. And he said, yeah, but we're getting a grant, so it's matching funds. So whatever it was, Fire District 3 taxpayers had to foot the bill for that for Diamond Beach. Now, the entire township reaps the benefit of the windfall of the Gold Coast, because that's what it was called when it was first started up, when it was supposed to be all big motels and everything. So what I'm suggesting is, I guess you said it was going to cost $200,000 for whatever benefit it was. If you're going to do that, you're never going to please those few people over there. Most of the people don't care, but there's a few, because I was involved with it. I was the guy that put all the street lights up, all the stop signs, had all the curbs painted, if you
your
remember.
fire tax is $366,969.
So like $370,000?
Yeah.
That's what they pay.
But I'm confused what your question is.
Well, my question is the $65,000.
Okay, what about?
He's proven a point that it's well worth whatever.
It may be well worth whatever.
If that's the
But
case.
since the entire town, every time the township promises them something over there, fire-related, it costs Fire District 3. You see
Well,
what I mean?
that's what it's supposed to. If every time it costs something up here that has to do with the villas, it
Yeah,
goes
I
to
know,
Fire
they're going to build
District
a
1.
firehouse over there and a substation and all that, and that was going to cost big money. Now, when's the last time that, other than renovations at the Village Firehouse, did we have to do something extra?
Well,
Or at the Town Bank Firehouse, did we have to do something extra? Diamond Beach, you made them this promise, and Wildwood Crest is going to respond, and I guarantee you, in a few years, they're going to want a substation that we in Fire District 3 are going to have to pay for.
Well, Fire District 3 was part of the negotiations.
I understand that.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be better to make that Fire District 4?
Well,
and let them get
Well,
either their own fire department or
That's
contract
going
with
to,
Wildwood Crest?
that's going to the state DCA type thing, because that's already set in fire districts. We didn't set the fire districts.
And you know, they don't have any people, that's the whole problem. They don't have any residents that would be part.
I know,
of-
and we bought a special piece of equipment to get over the bridge quicker. Is that right, Mr. Perry? I'm not a fire guy, but
From what I understand, Fire District 3 did purchase a smaller
Some
piece of
kind of-
apparatus, but they use it other places too, down on Ocean Drive and other places
Yeah.
in their district, not
Gotcha.
just over there.
the main problem is that for the last 30 years, we've been letting the county and the state get away with not replacing the bridge. That's the main thing. Now, the thing was to get them a reduced rate because the firehouse is so far away. Is that correct? That's what it was, a fire thing? I pay a higher rate because I'm more than 1,000 feet away from a fire hydrant. Yet in Diamond Beach, they got fire hydrants all over the place. I know, I marked them out and I painted them when I worked for the township. So, I mean, you're not going to please everybody all the place. But with that number there, the 307, rounded out to 370, then the 65 is a good deal. But for you to say that it didn't come out of the township, I'm in the township. You just should have said, it didn't cost 1 and 2 anymore, but it cost 3 a little bit more. You understand what I'm talking about?
I
Yeah, but they
understand.
didn't raise their tax on that either. They had it budgeted because they were looking at that.
Well, if
Your
they
fire
had
tax
budgeted,
didn't go
then
up.
they already put it in the fire
Yeah, but
tax.
they didn't raise their fire tax, though. That's the key thing in 3.
It's still the exact same amount as last year.
That's what I
or the year
understand, yes,
before.
fire tax.
No matter who we increase the service for, someone else can say, why did they get that service? So there was a 65 and there was a 10. Tonight, we approved for Dr. Farrell to do a service. We have a need right now in Cape May Beach and along the bayfront, just for the study. Over there, we're going to save them money. We don't know if we're going to save any money there. We're doing due diligence.
I didn't hear the mayor
Let me
say.
finish, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
And my point is, it's not like a scorecard where, oh, they got this and they got that. We sit back and we look and we determine, and in that situation, I think the need, they all agreed that we have a problem here with FEMA and we're addressing it. And we don't really know the total cost, but to say Diamond Beach is the Gold Coast, which is what you just said,
I didn't
I
name
don't
it
think
that.
business goes that way here. I think we look at problems and we're trying to solve them as economical as possible.
Well, I have to disagree with you. When we went to a 5-council thing, we turned into the wards and my ward this and my ward that, because I've sat at these meetings and listened to different council people say, it was almost like the old Philly mentality, what they were bringing back to their ward. So I got to correct you there.
Well, I'm a-
And I didn't.
I'm a
wait
newbie
minute
in
now.
this.
You just told me to stop talking, and I did. I didn't name it the Gold Coast. That was named way when I was a little kid, like 1969, when Lower Township basically rolled the dice and spent over $1 million at the MUA to run a sewer line over there and develop that swamp. That's when it was called the Gold Coast, because it was supposed to keep bringing in money to Lower Township, as like the Grand was supposed to 8-10 years ago, which that was going to solve all of our financial problems. But as things go along, it doesn't. But I didn't hear any of the councilmen up here tonight saying, well, it's not costing anybody else. I didn't like the terminology, well, it's costing Fire District 3. You understand what I'm saying? It's costing the taxpayers of Lower Township, but it's costing Fire District 3 just a couple pennies more. You understand what I'm saying, Mayor? I'm not saying it's not a good deal, you know, but at the same time, I'm like, well, where does he think Fire District 3 is?
Well, we're well aware. They're mandated to provide that service, and they pay for it.
I understand that, you know, but you're telling me we can't look into, because I'm telling you, the few people over there that are raising the ruckus, they're not going to be happy and they're going to want a fire substation over there. What? Let them be their own fire district. Why can't, you're not going to tell me that can't be done.
I think that what we
Would it be
initially
explored?
started with and what we ended up with, we probably did a pretty good job.
Yeah, and I think I don't care where you live in the township, anyone, when you have a fire insurance rating of 4 and it gets almost tripled and goes up to a 10, all of us are going to work together to help those people out. And that's, that's just the bottom line. I mean, the fact that they went from a rating of a 4 to a 10, something had to be done to help them out.
So now what's their fire rating guaranteed to drop to?
There's no guarantee.
We don't know, because there's a process. It may take 3-4 months to analyze that ISO rating. There is no guarantee.
Have to be reevaluated.
Could drop to a 6.
Really the main concern is, we need a new bridge.
I don't
And
think
nobody
you-
will get off their butt.
I don't think, we looked at that. You're not talking like a couple of $1 million.
That's
Oh, I
still,
know.
You're talking
But
like hundreds of millions.
go up Ocean City, they get brand-new bridges.
Well, that's funny, because we were just looking at this. The state's inspecting bridges.
And if you ever sat on that bridge, when the bridge goes up, in the middle of the
Right.
night, when it's windy, you feel it rocks like 2 feet each direction. It's a dangerous piece of bridge.
Well-
So those people are paying a higher fire tax, and Fire District 3 is helping them along, or they're paying fire insurance, and Fire District 3 is helping it along by paying it to the crest, because we can't get a bridge.
well, the bridge wouldn't matter. It's because they're outside a 5-mile
Yeah.
range.
The drive.
So the bridge really doesn't play into this. I agree with you about the bridge, but it doesn't play into this particular
Bridge-
instance
bridge.
because it wouldn't matter. Because the reason their fire rating went up is because they're outside of 5 miles from their fire district.
And not from you guys, you probably did a good job, getting it for 65,000. I don't know how many times they respond over there, but I would say 99.999 are false alarms,
Right.
you know,
God help us if we lose that bridge.
yeah.
I mean, the repercussions are enormous.
But you guys probably don't realize, between Lower Township and Middle Township, you got the biggest voting blocks in the county, yet we don't use that to get stuff we need in this end of the county, so.
It's a county bridge, but
It is.
it's not a big ticket item, it's a huge.
Oh,
ticket item.
absolutely, yeah.
But
every year you put it off, it gets more expensive, just like your building.
I don't
down there. And Mayor, a couple things. Since I was around there, they decided to buy that boondoggle in 1994, so it was 21 years ago.
Right. Oh, no, well, no, it actually,
Yeah, because we moved in a little bit in 96.
I think the negotiations began maybe a year or two before that. But
Yeah.
I have, there's actually air quality reports from like 1991.
You know what, when I worked in there, and we complained about air quality and mold and everything, how come we were hallucinating? And now there's mold there.
Well, I think that, at least I do, I have a greater respect for that stuff than I did,
Mr.
say, a long
Slagowitz
time
is
ago.
laughing, because he was around then, and he knew.
You
He
know.
saw it, yeah.
That stuff can,
And you're right, I got to agree with him on the flat roof. Every time you cut a hole in it, it's bad, And when they did the building the first time, they literally put carpets in first, and then the roof leaks. And then it was a money pit, just like that movie. It was a money pit ever since then. I got to agree with you at that one. It should be leveled and started over, but if not, I would recommend that we rent it off the county. Give it back to them and rent
Yeah.
space off of it.
That
really.
might have to be, but I think it needs more discussion because it's a couple hours old. I'm not making
Yeah.
decisions that will impact this town for the next 25 years on an hour's worth of discussions.
Thanks for indulging me.
Thank you. Mr. Butler?
That's it, I'm fine with
I don't want to, I haven't been drinking. I just started to walk like that. I have to use a cane next. Anyway, other than that, this gentleman, I don't know, but he's completely right. The township clerk will let you know, I put an open request in and picked it up in 370,000 figure for fire company number 3 for that area. And also, last year was 600 and some thousand. I haven't looked to see why the difference dropped that much. Maybe it was on revals or stuff like that, but that's another point. I was gonna bring that up tonight, and I'll tell you, he's totally right as far as using township money when there's over 370,000 that's being taxpayers paying for the fire company 3. You're supposed to gave 65,000 because you were negotiating with Councilman Simonson on that for that area. So now
We did not
with that,
negotiate.
excuse me, why did we actually give them taxpayers' money to the fire company when they have their own money? And shouldn't they negotiate it instead of the township negotiating with Wildwood or Wildwood Crest, whoever it is? But that's taxpayer money. We're very generous in this township. This council is very generous, giving things away, but every time you give something away, it actually costs the taxpayers, and they support it. And we've been doing this for a long time. And he's totally right with that. It's never should have been used for that. We pay for that, the taxpayers, everybody. That 10,000 that was put in there. It's not a lot of money. It's not $1 million. Start adding it up, every little bit. It goes out. It costs us, the taxpayers, me and everybody else in this township.
Okay.
And that's got to stop.
Ed, are you saying we shouldn't have paid Dr. Farrell to do the study for the FEMA stuff?
Stop that now?
That's the
You know
same
what?
thing.
Let me tell you about that. Yeah.
You're saying we shouldn't do it?
I'm not, that's not the issue I'm talking.
Yes, it's the same issue.
I'll take that up with this, but get this straightened out. This is what you're talking about. This was the subject on this one and what I'm talking about. Dr. Farrell, and that.
That concerns
that's
your
getting
health, I
worse,
know, I
worse.
understand.
And you know what? You mentioned about Diamond Beach with that. That doesn't affect the fire insurance as far as a dune or a berm or the V-zone. That's not what the the homeowner fire insurance is about. That's the homeowner's part of it with FEMA. You got two separate things. They're adjusted because, like you said, the distance where the fire company has to come from has nothing to do with that beach part of it.
Okay.
That's two separate things. That affects the flood insurance payments, and there's two different policies. You have a flood insurance policy and you have a homeowners, which is your fire insurance. And that's the same thing. I can take that up with you too with Farrell. We're talking about flood insurance and we're talking about fire insurance. We're talking fire now, which is the homeowners. Has nothing to do with the flood insurance.
Flood insurance is the homeowners also, Ed.
Nothing to do with it. It's different. It's under, I pay it. I know what it is. I pay it over there. You don't. I do.
Okay.
And there's two different policies.
All right.
And mine, one's under Hardy and the other one's a Lloyd of London. One's homeowners, one's flood. And that affects the V-zone. Nothing to do with what we're talking about here.
It has everything to do with
No
it.
taxpayer.
Everything to do with it.
Ed, can you,
No, it don't have everything to do with it.
Yeah, I think the point was
You know
being,
what?
listen, if I may, the point that was being made was, yes, we don't live in Diamond Beach, and we put some money out to help them. The other thing is, many of us don't live in the
Why?
V-zone. Can I finish? Many of us don't live in the V-zone, but we also, as taxpayers, are paying to help out to get the study done and whatever else needs to be done there, because we're a township. We're all in this township together, we're all taxpayers in this township. Otherwise, everyone would just pay for their own thing, and that's what you want.
Well, why didn't you all negotiate that over instead of you and him?
We didn't negotiate it. The
You were
fire
involved with it. You
district, the
came-
fire district negotiated. I don't have the power to negotiate on the.
What I heard here a while back when this was first presented, was both of you were involved with it, and you was Ward 3.
That's
Township
correct, we
members
met
there.
with them.
But you know what? Everyone in the wards got their own little special thing, and that over there, the fire company have negotiated $370,000 in taxes that we all pay for. We are helping them out through the taxes. So there's no reason to give them another.
They pay their
10,000.
fair share of taxes, too.
No, that's.
All right, Ed, the decision's been made. Do you have anything else, please?
Sorry?
Yeah, the decision was already made. That's over.
I know it is, but this
Okay.
is, you know what the decision is coming to? Budget time.
Okay.
None of you guys,
That next meeting is.
Councilman Simonson mentioned budget, and there's nobody been talking about it, and next meeting, when it comes up at the 27th or whatever it is, It'll be presented, are you going to approve it then?
We'll see at that time.
Answer it now.
No.
Are you
The
gonna
vote's not
approve it?
now, Ed. Come on.
It's
next month, next meeting.
You know what? You won't make a commitment because that's what's going to happen.
Same time, same.
Okay, Ed, have a
And
nice
nobody's
day.
going to get a chance to even look at it, but we'll be
Thank you.
paying for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? Oh, come on. Go ahead, you're up. Come on.
Janet Pitts, the Villas. I didn't bring this up earlier, but I think this is a two-part thing with the county as far as the public safety building and also the consolidated dispatch. So they paid Intertech Associates, and there's a 259-page report that is very informative and basically says that a consolidated dispatch is primarily going to be us, the county, and Middle Township, because none of the other towns are showing any interest in this. And I don't know who the gentleman was in the back of the room that spoke for the fire companies, because according to the report, the fire companies weren't interested in it at all.
What year is that report?
It's the last one, 2014.
Okay, because that's been changing year to year, because I was one of the people running around the county.
They get
trying
a
to
new
support.
report, 259 pages every year.
No,
Oh,
but I'm just saying, it's more support
I
than.
mean,
you
the
think.
people changed. They changed their minds.
Yes,
You have to take a deep breath before you
yes, because I have
do
to
that.
figure out what you're thinking there.
Okay, okay. So, but it's got a lot of good information. I don't know if that's changed too, but it's got monetary information for what we would pay. You know, you really need to look at this report, and if it's changed, then update it. But this is a two-part thing. Are we going to do the building? And then if it is a consolidated countywide, it is not countywide. It will never be countywide. In the first place, Upper Township has state police, Dennis Township has state police, Woodbine has state police. The fire departments want their own
Well, the big savings would be out of.
dispatchers.
Yeah.
So now we have, correct me if I'm wrong, a dispatcher does police, fire, and rescue. And if I may add to about Diamond Beach, I think maybe that $10,000 was partly because isn't.
Okay, I'm not getting that, there's.
Okay, I'm just
totally
saying,
different.
with what Ed was saying,
You're
the
going-
$10,000 in the Diamond Beach for the taxpayers, wasn't that like pay for fire and
That's for the fire.
EMS?
No.
And the police are going to respond to a fire.
That's-
So in Diamond Beach, that's what I read.
They're.
They're Wawa Crest
Yes,
Rescue
they're
Squad.
gonna do the
Please.
first responders.
Until you
to
get there.
Diamond Beach, until,
You get there.
our police, our EMS, and our fire get
Right.
there.
That was a clarification for the
Yeah, it's just,
other
but once that happens, it's all,
Yes. But, so this can be very.
that was from an
interesting.
outside agency, and that's totally different than what we were talking about negotiating. So it's, I know.
Oh,
Hate to
okay,
study.
so you're not going by
That
this.
gives some basis of facts. There was an
Well,
older one
okay,
from a
so
few years
is
ago.
the county going to
2009.
put out, or is this going to be like, in the back room, you guys all get together? and
If you'll
just-
notice, we've been doing most of our discussions up front. We don't. Yeah, I know you wouldn't recognize that. Okay.
You
Thank you.
mean this today? This was a presentation.
Yes,
of
and we've
discussions
and we've
that
had the
took place.
discussions up here, but the negotiations would be not with council members. Don't do negotiating in this form of government. Manager and all them, we give them an idea where to go. Sometimes that's in a closed session, but beyond that, we're not part of the negotiations.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
elect him. I elected you.
Yes, but what form of government do we have?
Mayor and council.
Council and manager.
Right, but you appoint him.
Yes.
Yes, and I voted
Yes.
for you.
So I have to.
I
appoint a
appoint
person.
you.
Yes.
So he's an employee, and you're an elected official. I can't vote him out.
You're right.
You don't like the job he does, you
You
fire him.
tried to vote me out many times, so.
I know I did. I'm gonna keep working on that.
And I
Come on, Janet, Leo.
I'm kidding.
I don't think you
I'm
voted
just
for him
saying,
either.
this
That's another
report-
story.
This report was what a lot of people were believing the Consolidation Dispatch is, and now obviously
The
it's not.
dispatch is going to be what it is. It's who, that's why we're trying to get front line. We've been talking about this for
Okay,
years.
because the money in this stinks from our perspective. So you should know that, so whoever you're gonna assign it
Okay.
to should look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else wishes to address? Come on, Hal.
Helen Thompson Villas. What I'd like to, Mr. Frizzoli, I guess his name is, over there in, at the MUA board.
Right.
Okay, I was at the last MUA meeting, and he was snickering at people, including me, but at least 3 different residents, when they came up and they were opposing, getting the money, the $205,000, and he was sitting over there snickering. I thought it was very unprofessional, and I was wondering, do you guys talk to him? Do you file a complaint on him? How do you do that? I mean, I thought it was rude. You guys, as many times as me and you guys go back and forth, you guys don't even act like that, honestly. Seriously, though. It was bad, in
Well,
my opinion.
You know, the best way is to just say something publicly while you're there, because technically, he's an appointed official. I mean, it doesn't rise to the level of misconduct or anything like that.
No,
So
I-
there's nothing that we would get involved with. The point that I'm saying is that if I was speaking and somebody was,
I would address it, like
Yeah,
the mayor
address it
said,
right
but
there.
address the chairman as well.
sure, just say, I don't appreciate it, and then go forward.
So go to another board meeting and.
Well, that's your
bring
prerogative.
that up.
That's up
Okay.
to you.
That and right away. Do it right there at that meeting. It's usually
I'm going to
fast.
go to the next meeting.
It's like with,
One a month they have, I guess, right?
yes.
Right.
Okay, and I just wanted to mention this. The weekly incident report for the police station, for the police department, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, in the Herald, it says, it used to just say, the week of such and such and such and such, Lower Township Police Department responded to so-and-so many calls. And the last 4 or 5, since February 23rd, I guess, it changed, and now police responded to or initiated, and the calls have jumped like 300-400 a week. I just wanted to bring that up, like I just wanted to let you know I noticed. I don't know why it changed, but it appears that before they responded and initiated, it was a lot lower, and as soon as that started, it bumped it up. I mean, I have a paper Mr. Spankowitz, about the ordinance thing. Red Bank also passed on the 11th. They passed a bunch of things, shade for dogs and stuff like that. And as far as, we have a lot of ordinances that are different than state laws. They improve on them, I think. Okay, I'm just saying, I mean, it's not just dogs. I mean, with a lot of different things. Our ordinances are exactly, we have different ordinances than state laws. But, I mean, you can improve on them, correct, in a town? You can't weaken them, right?
Typically, you can make them more restrictive and regulate things a little bit more closely than the state law.
But you can't slack them less, right? Okay. And I was just saying, don't forget about the dog burden.
We won't.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to address council?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.